Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, and you are listening to the Stardom Cast.
This is Jesse from Club Venus from Stardom, and you're watching Stardom Cast.
Hello guys and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined by the most amazingly gorgeous man on this podcast. It's only Matt Turner.
Well, what an introduction. I don't know what to say about that, but I mean, I'm either first or second place, my man. So it's either gold or silver, but I'll take what I can take. Rob Goodwin, my brother, how's everything going on with you? We are having a beautiful day here in Pennsylvania. How are things over there in England, my friend?
It's been absolutely gorgeous for the last couple of days. So obviously today is absolutely hammering it down. Hasn't let up all day. It's been one of those typically grey British days. And anyone that lives in Britain, I don't know if I've said this before, will know what I mean when I say that Britain has certain types of weather. You've got, your stereotypical sunny, rainy, snowy, but you also have grey, and that is an official weather term in Britain because you just get this horrible permeating grey that just seems to get everywhere. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible colour. But apart from that, things are going well. Obviously, for those that tuned into the Marigold Standard, first of all, thank you very much. But you will have heard that my microphone was a little bit echoey because obviously I've moved into the new house. But obviously there's nothing up in this room yet, so there's nothing to absorb the echo. Hopefully that'll be rectified over the next week or so. And if the internet is a little bit janky, I apologise. As I said again on the Marigold Standard, we're on a 4G router, which hilariously is still better than the internet I had in my last house. And I don't know what that says about the internet capabilities there, but it's okay. But if it does cut out, or if Matt goes a little bit robotic, or I disappeared, that is why. It's a temporary measure. Hopefully, brand new speedy internet will be arriving this Tuesday, or the Tuesday coming, fingers crossed. But yes, everything at the moment, Matt, is going swimmingly, touch wood. What about you? What about yourself? How was your birthday weekend?
My birthday weekend was really good. I guess the one negative thing to come out of it is these summer abs I've been working on since March. And in about 2 days, I weighed myself at the gym on Tuesday, and I was like, man, I gained 3.5 pounds in 4 days. And I was like, yeah, it's all those carbs, it's all the burgers, the beers. And then I took Amber out for breakfast on Monday, right after the Marigold show. And I stuffed myself with, you can usually eat clean for breakfast: egg whites, avocados, stuff like that. But oh no, Rob, I went for the sausage links, the bacon. And not only did I have French toast, but I washed that down with pancakes as well. So I was like, oh boy, all that hard work down the drain. However, brother, that's the worst thing to happen to me this entire week. It's a damn good week. But no, my birthday was fantastic. I made mention on the Marigold Standard that on Friday, Amber and Lily, my wife and daughter, took me out for dinner, which was nice. And then Saturday, I just had a little lunch date with my daughter, which is always nice because she's, a teenager now, and it's not really cool to hang out with your dad unless I'm bribing her with either food or movies or comic books or a little bit of all three. So that was nice to spend time with her. She made a gorgeous drawing of Mina Shirakawa when she was the Wonder of Stardom champion for me for my birthday. And I put it up on the old Twitter, and Mina retweeted it, which was nice, and has something like 25,000 views, which I showed to her, which really popped Lily. So that was nice. It's always nice that when my daughter's artwork gets praised by everybody, whether it's the Stardom wrestlers or just people in general. So that made me happy. But no, my birthday was great. Everything's going great. A little bit busy with work stuff, as me and you were texting back and forth. It's literally it's just nonstop and insane as we're moving systems. So it's been a little, touch and go. But no, man, I'm alive. I'm swinging, and I'm ready to talk about yet another Stardom Tag Match of the Year candidate this week on the Stardom Cast podcast, brother.
I mean, we have been spoiled, haven't we, over the last week or so? We really have. The show itself, I thought, was pretty solid throughout. But yeah, that tag match, we knew it would be good. But when Mayu was leaving the ring with a swollen up face, you know it was hard hitting, and by Jove, it really, really was. Cannot wait to talk to you about that very, very shortly. But before we get into anything else, all of the news surrounding everything from Julia to Starlight Kid to Rian to Saori Poi, Matt, tell us what's coming up on the Patreon this week.
On the Patreon, our alternate commentary that was released earlier this week was Mai Saori defending the High Speed Championship against the wrestling machine, the wild heart herself, Hazuki, from the 13th anniversary show, Nagoya Supreme fight from earlier this year. And then next week, our alternate commentary will be Maika, her second title defense for the World of Stardom Championship in the legendary ECW arena against her tag partner, one Megan Bayne. So that's what was dropped this week, and that's what will be dropped next week for the alternate commentary. Now, by the time this drops, give or take a handful of hours, there will be a few bonus episodes for the Stardom Cast Extra. One will be, and this will be for the $5 and the $10 tier, so the Red Belt tier and the Rossi Vice tier. That'll be my review of the 2019 final night of the 5-star Grand Prix that had a bunch of must-see matches, one between Mayu and Momo Watanabe in a really great final with Hana Kimura and Konami. So that one will be up, I'm going to say Thursday, Friday, and then be sometime either Sunday or Monday will be myself and Andy Header. This is a $10 tier exclusive, Rossi Vice tier exclusive, myself and Andy Header. We compared and contrast All-Star Grand Queendom 2023 versus All-Star Grand Queendom 2024. That's the first time myself and Andy have done the compare and contrast shows, and it was a really, really, really good time. It was really fun to talk to him, somebody who's just getting into Stardom or just got into Stardom a handful of months ago, and some of these matches he's really never seen before. And you'll be shocked at what match actually got him 5 stars, because there's a match, and there's a lot of phenomenal matches in those two shows, but there's one match that everybody rated very high, but I don't think anybody gave it the perfect 5 stars, and I think it was the second favorite match between the two shows. So I'm going to kind of just leave that as a little bit of a cliffhanger, but that was really fun recording with Andy, and again, that one will be in your Patreon feeds either Sunday or Monday. Now, of course, as we always say, cards subject to change. We did have Karen Peterson scheduled to do a roundtable discussion of myself, Rob, and one Karen Peterson, the lovely Karen Peterson, of doing Utami Hayashisa's career retrospective. But between Karen busy with work stuff and then Rob in the move and his internet being there and not being there, we've had to reshuffle things 3 or 4 times. Finally, we just decided that what we'll do is we'll move that roundtable discussion to sometime in June. So you will be getting that, but it won't happen in the month of May. It's going to happen in June. So what Rob and I decided to do is we're going to do a roundtable discussion of what Marigold versus WWE matches you would like to see at that big show coming up in the summer for the Marigold promotion in the Ryogoku Kakakiken in Sumo Hall. So that is everything that is on the Patreon and everything coming up. And again, just a little bit of a scheduling conflict, as that tends to happen with just everybody being just insanely busy. But we will have Karen on the show in the month of June. But that'll be a fun one, my friend, as me and you will, those rumors are flying, especially that yesterday, as we record this yesterday, WWE announced that they are doing a mini tour of Japan, their first tour in Japan in 5 years. And they announced some of the talent and where they'll be. And it does really, really look like all signs are pointing that Io and or Kairi will be on that big show for Marigold come in July. So it's going to be nice to do some little fantasy booking, my friend, to see who you have the Miz wrestling from the Marigold Company, buddy.
Yes. The Miz versus Victoria Yuzuki is match of the night without a shadow of a doubt. As you mentioned, obviously WWE have announced that they'll be running 2 shows. The first of which will be in the Edion Arena, Osaka, and then the second of which will actually be in Ryogoku. But that has added even more fuel to the fire that we discussed on Monday during the first Marigold Standard show, that Io Sky and Kairi Hojo or Kairi Sane will be present on that Marigold show. Of course, with WWE announcing the strengthening of their partnership with Noah recently, I wouldn't be surprised if Shinsuke Nakamura turns up in Noah again like he did for the Great Muta's final show. But we will see. We will see. Let's kick into some news then. And between Marigold and between Stardom, there has been a tremendous amount of news. When this episode drops, the chances are the Hanakamura Memorial Show, Terima Kasih, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I apologize if I'm not, will have already happened. It is going to be live on Triller TV, just as the others have been. But unfortunately, as was announced by the Marigold Joshi English Twitter feed, Julia ended up with a broken wrist. Or a fracture to her wrist anyway. And unfortunately, with the recovery time, I think I looked it up, was about 5 to 6 weeks. It looks like Julia is going to be missing. Well, she's definitely going to be missing the Hanakamura Memorial Show. She hopefully will be back in time for Ryogoku, but just really, really, really devastating timing. It's never nice to get an injury, but when she'd already put out a video about how happy she is to be finally a part of one of these Hanakamura Memorial shows. You know, she's missed the last 3 with one thing and another and scheduling and things, and she was finally able to be a part of this. She was going to be taking on Venny in what would have been a barn burner of a match. Unfortunately, injury has robbed us of that. It's robbed us of Julia and Marigold, and it's robbed Julia of the opportunity to pay tribute to someone who she still credits as doing wonderful things for her in Stardom in Hana. But she did announce that her replacement is about as good as it gets, because she's announced that Utami is going to be taking her place, and she is going to be taking on Venny in the main event of that show. Stardom talent on that show, we've already spoken about. Saori Anou's taking part in that show. Rina is taking part in that show. Konami, Saori, all are going to be on that show. And again, all of the money that the show makes, I believe, goes to the charity set up by Kyoko Kimura. So it is 100% worthy of your time. 23rd of May. On Triller TV. Matt, devastating timing for Julia. They actually showed a video where we're able to see where Julia breaks her wrist. It's when Bozilla does the double fall-away slam to both her and Utami, and Bozilla lands on her wrist. It's a complete accident. Accidents happen in wrestling, as Jim Ross says. It's not ballet. Though that, don't disparage ballet. It's hard. It is, not that I'd know, but it is hard, apparently.
Oh, my goodness. Rob, have you done ballet and you just kind of kayfabed it and took it back?
Do you know what?
We need to know.
No, but Kirsty did, and she is informing that ballet is bloody hard. No, I have all the grace of a giraffe with 4 left feet, so no, I would not be a good ballet dancer. But Matt, we do have Utami on this show. Are you excited? How good is this match going to be, Utami versus Venny on Thursday?
Rob, I mean, I'm excited because Utami Hayashishita, one of my favorite wrestlers on all of wrestling. But I do have to say, I understand wrestling and injuries and stuff has changed a lot in 40 years. But maybe if Julia pulled some Cowboy Bob Orton tapes out from the early 80s, this match could have stayed place. But anywho, that's just neither here nor there. He used to wrestle with the cast on, and then I think even when he came back to feud with The Undertaker back like 20 years later, he still had the cast on. It was a slow healer. Anywho, no, in all seriousness, it's unfortunate because Julie just got back. Marigold just getting started, and you have an injury to one of, if not your biggest stars in one Julie. And considering the fact that, from what we understand, she has inked her WWE deal, it's just a matter of time before she goes. Might slow down the process a little bit, as we know from Kyrie going and Io, when Io was supposed to go back in 2017, the WWE, they do their thorough research to make sure you're 100% healthy before you go over and start wrestling. So, that's going to probably delay Julia a little bit of time of going over there, but neither here nor there. Eventually she will be healed, and I know that she'll be a big, big star over there in NXT and WWE. Yeah, it is a shame we don't get that Julia versus Fenny match. I know me and you both popped real big when that was announced as one of the featured matches for this Hanakamura tribute show. And the fact that Julia, and you mentioned just a little bit ago, partner, if you know your Stardom history, when Julia first came into Stardom, she was kind of treading water a little bit. It was somebody that Bushiroad really wanted to push and really wasn't taking really well with the fans until she had that feud with one Hana Kimura. It was really the feud that kind of launched her into superstardom, from the end of 2019 to the beginning of 2020. She eventually wins the Cinderella tournament, defeats Tam in the finals for the vacant Wonder of Stardom championship. And it's pretty much been all systems go for the last 4 years and counting from Julia. I mean, she's really just been home run after home run after home run. And I think again, I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me. It was that feud with Hana Kimura that really sent her into superstardom. Would she have gotten there eventually? Yeah, I think so. Someone as talented and as charismatic as Julia, she would have gotten there eventually, but I don't think she would have gotten there as fast, as quick as she did if it wasn't for that feud with Hana Kimura. So I know it really meant a lot to her for her to compete in this show. And again, I love Julia. And again, it's great that she would have been there to show support for the late, great Hana Kimura, her good friend, one Hana Kimura. But the fact that her replacement is somebody, as much as I love that Julia, I love Utami Hayashishita just a little bit more. So this match with Veni, the whole show looks really good, but this is definitely the match that I'm looking forward to the most. And I'm assuming, my friend, that either on the Stardom cast or the Marigold Experience, that this is a show that we're going to be covering in full, correct?
Indeed, in the Marigold Standard, we might be doing it as well. But the Marigold Experience sounds like a Jimi Hendrix album.
Oh, yeah, that's it's been, folks, I've had 6 meetings this week, and I missed the one on Monday because I was off, and I was like, I'm not going to that one. I am off. There's no way. I've had 6 meetings, and we're only 2 days in. I got 4 more to go. 4 more to go. So maybe I got a little Jimi Hendrix on the brain because maybe I'm all about the Watchtower here.
Nice. Let us know, guys. Would you prefer us to change the name of our show to the Marigold Experience? Just sticking with Marigold, just very briefly, they have got 2 shows on Sunday, the 25th. I believe, no, Sunday the 26th, I apologise, at Shinkiba First Ring. They hadn't announced the shows, obviously, or they hadn't announced the cards because of Julia's injury, so stuff has had to be changed. However, today, those cards have come out in their entirety. So, in the daytime, their afternoon card is as follows. Koko Amore versus Nayo Ishikawa. Zeta Steel versus Myla Grace. Tag team action, we'll see Natsumi Shozuki and Miko Aono versus Misa Matsui and Shiaki. Victoria Yuzuki and Utami Hayashishita versus Nanai Takahashi and Bozilla. And then Mirai and Mei Sakurai versus Saori and Nagisa Nozaki. Obviously, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to work out that Julia presumably was going to be slotted into that main event alongside Mirai. Mirai and Julia versus Saori and Nagisa Nozaki. Obviously, Saori and Julia has been announced as a match ahead of Ryogoku. So unfortunately, she misses out here, but I imagine they can carry on that story with Mei Sakurai and Nagisa Nozaki in that main event. The night card is as follows. Miko Aono versus Zeta Steel. Nanai Takahashi versus Nao Ishikawa. Mirai and Chiaki teaming up versus Nagisa Nozaki and Bozilla. A 3-way match then, Mei Sakurai versus Misa Matsui versus Myla Grace. And then in your main event, Victoria Yuzuki and Natsumi Shozuki versus Utami Hayashishita and Koki Amore. I'm really, really impressed that we are seeing Victoria Yuzuki at the top of the card after she opened Marigold Fields Forever and had a fantastic showing against Nanai Takahashi. I'm glad to see her being pushed into that sort of that focus position where she can really be spotlighted because I think, as we discussed in length during the Marigold Experience, that Victoria Yuzuki... I'm going to keep calling it that now. That Victoria Yuzuki is certainly one to keep your eye on for the future. And I think here she can be highlighted in the right way, Matt.
Since we're talking about the Marigold Experience, can we change the logo to Jimi Hendrix, but instead of the tie-dye, it's the Marigold stuff, and then we would just have to erase the stuff from his face so we don't get sued? Maybe that's one.
Maybe.
That might be the next t-shirt or stickers. We'll figure it out. You're the art guy here, my man, so I'm just throwing more ideas at you. Yeah, but it is nice that Victoria Yuzuki's in a prominent spot here. I mean, she's somebody, again, that she came in with a lot of fanfare, wanted to be the future ace of this company. She ate the L on Nanai. Obviously, me and you had a disagreement on the way that match should go, but we had a very, spirited debate disagreement, which I thought was really, really well. You made some good points and I made some good points. And folks, if you haven't listened to that episode yet, it is available on our YouTube and on the podcast feed. But it's nice she's getting in these big spots. Now, for me, when this card was announced for the day show, and I made mention a few months ago that Victoria Yuzuki wrestles like somebody that should be in Queen's Quest. So technically, I'm kind of getting my Queen's Quest tag match here with the former leader of Queen's Quest, Utami Hayashishita, and Yuzuki teaming up with Bozilla and Nanai Takahashi. So that should be a fun one. But my friend, I have to zero in on what may be my new favorite tag team come the end of this weekend, and Miko Ano and Natsusumi Shozeki. Because those two ladies were the two wrestlers that I didn't know anything of going into into that fantastic show from Cork and Hall this past Monday, were the two wrestlers that impressed me the most. And now that they're going to be in a tag team match, that I'm really, really looking forward to that. Mai Sakurai obviously has a very, very big match if this is going to be the main event. And considering the fact that, partner, I agree with you that this was probably supposed to be Julia and Mirai versus Nozaki and Saori. I mean, geez, what a great match! Like, what a great follow up from their match of the year contender tag match in the main event of that first show. That would have been obviously Sakurai. She's going to do fine here. No disrespect to her. She is no Julia. But regardless, Saori and Mirai, it's going to be forearm, lariat, super excited for that one. But both these cards look really good. Only 5 matches. The one match that I'm looking forward to that not a lot of people are talking about, and I did make mention on it when we reviewed the tag match. I made mention how Zeta Steel and Myla Grace, they started that tag match out with some really good technical wrestling. So the fact they're getting a proper one-on-one singles match here is going to be really interesting because there's going to be no language barrier. They both speak English. They both had really good chemistry in that tag match, especially in the opening technical wrestling sequences, between exchanging headlocks and wrist locks and hammer locks. So I'm really looking forward to see what they're going to do here, and the fact they're not going to be overshadowed by the other competitors in the match. It's going to be one of only 2 singles matches on this show, so I'm super excited to see what they're going to be able to do there. But however, though, the match that I'm looking forward to the most from these 2 cards is that what I'm assuming is going to be the main event of the second night with Yuzuki and Shozaki versus Utami Hayashishita and Kyoki. Did I say that right?
Koki.
Koki. I think that is going to be the match that is going to steal the entire weekend. But regardless, some really, really good stuff here, my friend.
Yeah, agreed. There are some real matches that I'm looking forward to here, and some that will really highlight people in the way they deserve. Like I mentioned, Victoria Yuzuki. I think Myla Grace and Zeta Steel, after being in the tag match that got panned, unfortunately. I think we discussed on the podcast that it certainly wasn't that bad. But it'd be nice to see them get another opportunity to make a first impression, if you like. Moving on, final thing about Marigold, and this comes courtesy of our friend Scotty Wrestling on Twitter. Apparently, an official press release from Wrestle Universe said that Marigold Fields Forever was the second most watched event in Wrestle Universe history. Which is quite an impressive feat. Scott's put the event was only behind Cyberfight Festival 2022 in terms of the most viewed events in the history of the streaming service. May 20th also saw the highest number of new registered members in a single day on Wrestle Universe, which obviously does not count the day the service launched. And 20% of Marigold's viewers were new subscribers from overseas. And then he just goes on to say that they will be live again with that double shot at Shinkiba, which we've already talked about. Matt, we talked about how Marigold had made a statement with this show. It turns out the numbers are also saying that they made a huge, huge splash in the world of Joshi.
Yeah, they sure did. I mean, I was one of them. Wrestle Universe always looked really, really tasty to me. It looked like something really good. The way that it was presented, Tokyo Joshi Pro, Sendai Girls, Pro Wrestling Noah. I just never got on board. It had nothing to do with the cost. I thought the cost was more than worth it. I just didn't have time. But the fact that Marigold's on there and it's something that we're going to be covering, so I subscribed a few days prior. And actually, think I subscribed the day before the Pro Wrestling Noah versus Marigold 8-person tag match. But I think Andy Header is a new subscriber, and I know of 7 or 8 other people that I pretty much sold subscriptions to. Just basically saying, hey, here's what, not like in a sales rep way, but just basically, a lot of people saying, how do I go and see this show? Is it a separate pay-per-view like Stardom? And I was like, no, you have to subscribe to Wrestle Universe. So not only will you get the Marigold shows, but then you'll also get the Pro Wrestling Nova stuff, the Tokyo Joshi Pro stuff. So I know of about 10, 11 people from wrestling or just fans of the podcast that got the Wrestle Universe specifically for Marigold. So I'm not shocked that it had a good number, but I'm a little bit shocked that it was that high. So good on them, my friend. Good on them, and it's really going to show just what a great draw that the women's wrestling really are. And obviously, we're going to get into Io and Kairi watch when we get towards the end, because I got some numbers on what Io's match did this past Monday on Monday Night Raw. So just going to show, my friend, that not only the Joshi wrestling, but women's wrestling is something that people have a lot of interest in. And the women's wrestling, my dad was over. My dad is a WWE guy through and through. That's all that he watches. But when he was over my house for my birthday this past weekend, he was telling me, he said the women's and Raw and SmackDown are better than 90% of the men. That's why I said, wait, do you see what's going on in Japan, Pop? Because it's a completely different world, but that's awesome to see. The proof is in the pudding. We always say wrestling is subjective, but you can like what you like, but the numbers don't lie. And the numbers right there tell you that Marigold is an absolute splash and is going to make the people over at Cyber fight a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely, and like you say, what a way to make your debut. Let's move on then to a little bit more unfortunate news, really. It appears that Rian, who's been out of the last couple of shows with an injury, it does appear that she's going to be missing the upcoming tour dates as well, which will see Stardom run through, I believe, until the 31st of this month, the 31st of May. Stardom did put out on the We Are Stardom Twitter account that Rian is out with health concerns and will miss our upcoming tour dates. Join us in wishing her a speedy recovery. Obviously, it's never, as we've already discussed with Julia, it's never nice to have injuries. Obviously, Rian, very, very new into her career. We don't know the extent of the injury, whether it is illness or whether it's, what's that phrase? Poor physical health, I believe, is the way of saying injury, physical injury. So we don't know what it is, but I'm assuming it's a physical injury. I'm hoping she recovers very quickly, because there were certainly flashes of promise there. That match with Starlight Kid, I thought she did tremendously well in, and then she continued to progress, as the Stardom rookies tend to, because we've been very lucky in the rookies that we've had over the last couple of years. But obviously, make sure you are right first before you come back, Rian. And we wish you a speedy recovery, don't we, Matt?
Yeah, if there's any silver lining to look forward to, this reminds me a lot of Miyu Amasaki. Remember, Miyu Amasaki came in with a lot of fanfare. Her first handful of matches were really good. And then she got bit by the injury bug, and oh, that's never good when your first few months into wrestling. And then when she came back from the injury, she's been at nothing but fantastic. We do nothing but singing her praises. So that's one thing that Rian can look at. It's like, oh, I just getting my career going. I've had a handful of really good matches, right out the gate, and then I get injured. But I mean, look what happened with Miyu Amasaki when she first started, a year and a half ago to 2 years or whenever it was. So yeah, it's never good, but obviously you don't want to rush coming back from an injury too soon, because you can further damage whatever is going on with her. So you don't want to rush it back, and then when she comes back, it'll be something that we're definitely going to look forward to. So yes, I think I speak for all the Stardom fans and all the wrestling fans when we say, get well soon, Rian. We can't wait to see you back in the Stardom.
Just on a little bit of a happier note, because I think it's right that we talk about happier notes. There's a lot of cross promotion in Stardom at the moment. There's obviously one big one, including Saori Poi, which we're going to be talking about in a moment. But before we do that, something that I feel has slipped through the net somewhat is that Aya Sakura is going to be participating in Diana's show on the 24th of May against Nanami. And I think that's again, we talked about it with Hanako, with New Japan. I think it's going to be really, really good for Aya Sakura, and obviously we've seen it with Ronnie Yagami in Pro Wrestling Wave, which is something else we're going to be talking about in a little while, but really good for the exposure of Aya Sakura, who I think between her and Sayaka Kurora are doing really, really well in Cosmic Angels, Matt.
Yeah, and you're getting different reps with different people in front of different size crowds, which is good. Again, uh, Mr. Okada has been very upfront saying, if it makes sense and it's going to help other people out and the schedules open up, then yes, they can go and wrestle in other companies. We've already, again, Sai Kamatani and Rana Yugami wrestling in Pro Wrestling Wave. You have, this over here. You have May Sarah that was wrestling for Pro Wrestling Diana, Aya Sakura, wrestling for Pro Wrestling Diana. Some other stuff coming up with Tokyo Joshi Pro, which is still blowing my mind. So Aja Kong making her first Stardom match about a month ago. So it's just really, really cool where Mr. Okada, obviously the AEW partnership is the big one. But Mr. Okada's like, yeah, if it makes sense and the schedules open up and the wrestlers want to do it and the fans want to see it, why wouldn't I? Why would I say no? It's really making him endearing, not only to the fans, but other promotions and other promoters and other promotions fans, where it's just like, yeah, maybe there's a possibility we see a Mayu in a Tokyo Joshi Pro. Maybe it's a possibility we see an Izumi in a Tigers. If this stuff makes sense, why not? Why not? So I think that's really good. And again, you're getting somebody like Aya Sakura, who's been wrestling a little over a year. Obviously, she's another one that got hit with the injury bug, where you're going to go giving her more reps on shows, especially on shows that she's not going to be kind of lost in the shuffle of a roster that has a Mayu, that has an Azumi, a Suzu Suzuki, et cetera, et cetera. She might be one that might actually steal the show at the show that she's going to be doing.
Agreed. And even more cross-promotion with Starlight Kid defending or making her first defense of the Spark Joshi World Championship. This was announced today. Obviously, we found out during Philadelphia Week that Spark Joshi would be going over to Japan on the 5th of June. This was in partnership with Colors, and I believe it's Kawaii Shimai, the show itself, and I believe it stands for Cute Sisters, or it translates to Cute Sisters. I could be wrong, and if anyone from Spark Joshi is listening, please correct me, but I believe that's what it is. Obviously, during Philadelphia Week, Starlight Kid defeated Sumi Sakai to become the Spark Joshi World Champion. She will be defending that belt 5th of June, Shinkiba, first ring against Momoka Hanazono. Now, that is the first match, I believe, announced for that crossover show. Matt, that is going to be a fantastic match. Very, very excited for this.
Yeah, super excited. And again, we've seen Starlight Kid on pretty much every Stardom show representing the Spark Joshi Championship, which is really cool to see and really good for our friends over at Spark Joshi. And yes, Rob, there are people that work for Spark Joshi Company that listen to this podcast on the regular, including a friend of the show that's been on the show before, one Alyssa Marino. Hi, Alyssa, if you're listening. And if Rob got that wrong, please correct him, because he's all about improving, being a better version of one Rob Goodwin. And by the way, I don't know if anybody saw Twitter earlier today, but Alyssa Marino made mention that she lost her colored pencils, but she just found them. In case anybody's worried, she did find her colored pencils. So we can rest easy on that, my friend. But no, in all seriousness, this match is going to be, yes. She's a great follow. She is such an absolute gem. Yeah, she made mention earlier today, I can't find my colored pencil. She really tweeted that. And while I was waiting for you to come on, or in between my 84 meetings I had today, she's like, I just want to let everybody know I found my colored pencils, and I messaged her, and I'm like, oh, thank God I can sleep at night now. So I was really worried that you lost your colored pencils. She is an absolute gem. We definitely have to have her on the show sometime again, because you will absolutely love interviewing her, because you don't even have to have any format. You just talk and have a conversation. Anywho, back to the matter at task. This match is going to be great. We've seen Momoka Hanazono in Stardom a handful of times before, competing for the High Speed Championship. One time against Azumi and one time against May Sarek. Do I have that correct, partner?
You do indeed.
So the fact that it would be nice on this show if she was wrestling somebody that was a former High Speed champion. Oh wait, she is in Starlight Kid. So I'm super excited to see that match. I'm assuming that is going to be the main event, and I'm super excited to see what other matches are going to be on that card. I'm willing to bet that one Saki from Colors is going to be prominent in that match, because I know she helps out the fine folks over at Spark Joshi with a lot of things going on. So considering the fact that that is your main event and that's going to be an absolute barn burner, I'm excited to see what our friends over at Spark Joshi are going to build that card with. I know that they did make mention that they're going to let everybody know soon how you're able to watch this event. Maybe it's something where they put on Fight TV, because I know they have a working agreement with Fight TV, but hopefully this is something we don't have to move hills and mountains to watch, because that match alone is something that I would definitely pay good money to see, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of moving mountains to see, one of the last things I want to talk about is Saya Kamatani and Ranna Yagami in Pro Wrestling Wave, both women taking part in the annual round robin tournament Catch the Wave 2024. And we were sort of wondering how we were going to be able to watch these matches, whether they were going to be pay-per-views, whether we had to subscribe to a streaming service or whatever to see these matches. It turns out that doesn't need to be an issue, because Stardom announced yesterday that all of their matches are going to be on Stardom World, and just like that, they are already up. Obviously, Saya Kamatani and Ranna Yagami getting victories to open up their Catch the Wave accounts. Matt, I know you've seen both these matches. What were they like?
It was for those of you who remember the old ECW fan cam days, that's the camera shot that you're getting. You're getting one camera shot, not even really moving that much, just to kind of give you a heads up. You can still see everything great, because it's kind of at one ring post that's just posting into the ring. So Ranna Yagami fought somebody by the name of Mizuki Kato. Was okay. Kato, you can see she's a little bit green, was kind of not where she needed to be. Ranna Yagami, who's been wrestling less than a year, was able to get her in the right proper positions and eventually defeat her with the buzzsaw kick, which I know, partner, she's got a really cool name for it. What's the name of it? Her buzzsaw kick?
I did know it, and I've got rid of it. I'll try and find out while you're talking.
But it was a good match. It was solid. It got the gentleman 3 stars for me. But again, the fact that Ranna Yagami was the one that had to get this, and it wasn't something that was like completely all these blown spots. It was just something that just seemed like it was a little bit missed time. And then Ranna Yagami was able to get the match back on track. Now, Saya Kamatani and Nanami, I figured to be good. It's Saya Kamatani. It's Nanami. Saya Kamatani on this show. And again, I don't know how many people are on this show, but I think, or how many fans, excuse me. I want to say it was less than 100, and I could be wrong. Just the way that it was shot, it was in a smaller gymnasium. It looked like there was only 2 rows of chairs set up. So Saya Kamatani is wrestling in front of 3,000 people, wrestling in front of 5,000 people. Has wrestled in front of, big crowds, loud crowds like Korakuen Hall. You would think Saya Kamatani was wrestling in front of a sold-out Korakuen Hall the way she wrestled this match with Nanami. Now, by no means was she doing the Phoenix Splash or anything like that. She was on point here, and Nanami was terrific. And we've seen a handful of Nanami's matches, and they've all been solid. Rob, this one easily was the best match of her career. And if you have an extra 10, 11 minutes of your time, definitely watch this match with Saya Kamatani and Nanami. It was really good. Saya Kamatani was on her stuff like she always is, and made Nanami, who's somebody that's really up and coming, look great. And the fact that Saya Kamatani was able to get the win with the Star Crusher, because she's retiring some of her higher flashy moves. Like she's mentioned before, she's done using the Phoenix Splash. We haven't really seen her use the Fireburn Splash, the 450. We've been seeing her use the Hurricanrana pin attempt, and then she's got the Phoenix Strike and the Phoenix Shine. But if she's going to be going to more of this like neck dropping style, I would love her to see her use the Star Crusher, which was always one of her big moves regardless, as a finish. So we haven't seen her win a match with a Star Crusher before, and she properly plants Nanami in the middle of the ring with the Star Crusher. Again, the match is only over 10 minutes. It is definitely worth your time. I had it 3 3/4 stars. Absolutely loved it. And the fact that Saya Kamatani she's not holding anything back. Doesn't matter if she's wrestling in front of 40 people or 4,000. She makes sure each and every fan gets their money's worth. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think Saya Kamatani is one of, if not the best babyface in all of wrestling this side of Mayu Iwatani.
And then the big news to come out of Stardom was on the 20th. So the Monday, Stardom announced that Saori Anou and Natsupoi will be taking part in Naoka Kuta's produce show Cross on July the 6th, teaming up in the main event against Kakuta and Tei Honma. Now, obviously, this is huge because both Kakuta and Tei Honma are from TJPW, and Saori Anou and Natsupoi are obviously from Stardom. The 4 of them have wrestled together in Act Res Girls, I believe, at least Kakuta and Tae Honma started their careers in Actress Girls. I know Natsupoi, when she was Natsumi Maki, had a couple of matches in Stardom. Same with Saori Anou. I don't know if that was before they went to TJPW or they went to TJPW to Actress Girls, sorry, then came to Stardom, then went back to Actress Girls. I'm not entirely sure of the history there, but I know that these four have history together. The reason this is so big in the newscape is because TJPW do very, very, very little cross-promotional stuff. In fact, I don't know that they've done much cross-promotional stuff outside of the stuff with DDT and the Cyber Fight Fest. They weren't all together, and they tend to be on their own island, and I know that the owners are very happy with that. Now, what was quite interesting was there was interviews with both presidents. President Okada of Stardom was very, very open about, again, as Matt mentioned earlier, if it makes sense, then we're going to do it. If the schedules align, if it makes sense, if it's good for business, why wouldn't we? We're open to anything. They then interviewed the TJPW president, whose name I haven't got written down. I'm really, really sorry. But he was far more reserved about it, as though this was very much a one-off. However, the fact that we have some TJPW and Stardom crossover is incredible. It really, really is. This is all coming about, of course, because now Kakuta will be retiring at the end of July, and I believe it was PWI, but I could be wrong. They announced that Kakuta will be retiring full stop from wrestling, not just TJPW. So obviously all our best to Kakuta, but huge things happening in the world of Joshi, Matt, even if the forbidden door is less being knocked down and more just opened a tiny, tiny bit.
You know me, I'm one that's like, you know what probably could happen, or what should happen, or what's a possibility of happening. You have to look, again, Mr. Okada said, hey, it makes sense, let's do it, where Tokyo Joshi Pro is like, no, I don't think it's going to happen. Marigold, by the end of the year, is going to be the number 2 Joshi wrestling company in the world. Our number one Joshi wrestling company. They're going to take TJPW's spot. Again, the numbers don't lie. Stardom's number 1. TJPW is number 2. I don't know who number 3 is. But Marigold, for doing what they did in Korakuen Hall, what they're going to do in Sumo Hall, they're going to have some really, really big numbers, and they're going to probably take over Tokyo Joshi Pro at the number 2 spot. And then in some aspects, in some markets, they may even get up to the Stardom numbers. But again, Stardom has 13 years of great shows and attendance behind them. So it may take a little bit. Tokyo Joshi Pro might want to look into this, be like, maybe we can have somewhat of a working relationship with Stardom to maybe kind of help us out a little bit. Maybe we send Miyu Yamashita over to Stardom and have her work a match with, Shuri, and then maybe Shuri comes over and works a match for us. And again, I don't know too much about Tokyo Joshi Pro. I just know that they put on really good shows. People tell me all the time that's a company that you need to watch. Unfortunately, folks, there's only 24 hours in a day. I really wish there was a 25th, 26th, 27th hour in a day, because I would love to watch some Tokyo Joshi Pro. However, Mr. Rob Goodwin, I do subscribe to Wrestle Universe, so maybe I will squeeze in some time here. But it would be nice to see them kind of maybe helping each other out with talent going back and forth, considering the fact that Marigold is coming hot off the presses. They're going to be taking, they're basically going to be taking some eyeballs away from both Stardom and Tokyo Joshi Pro and putting on, Marigold themselves for obvious reasons. Their first show was great. The shows this weekend look great. This might be something that maybe Tokyo Joshi Pro might want to look into, is maybe sending some talent over to Stardom and vice versa. Have that Stardom talent come over there, because I think probably some really, really good matches. Again, unfortunately, outside of Miyu Yamashita, I don't know too much of the contracted wrestlers that work for Tokyo Joshi Pro. But if you have the number 1 and number 2 Joshi companies working together, it's only going to be really, really good stuff. So, yeah, we'll see. But I think it's just funny where Mr. Okada is just like, yeah, I got the number 1 company. Let's do business. And then Tokyo Joshi Pro is like, nah, man, we're good.
Yeah, this is a one-off and nothing more. I'm sure that's probably not what he was saying. However, the interview read very much like, "Hold your horses. We're not going to be pouring over our wrestlers by any stretch." Speaking of President Okada, and this is the last thing that we'll talk about in the news before we go on to reviewing Flashing Champions. He made his acting debut. I don't know if you realise this, Matt. He ran over Mayu Iwatani during in the Runaway Wrestler. As I mentioned last week, Stardom released a couple of clips with English subtitles of Mayu Iwatani's film, which of course came out on the 17th of May. By all accounts, is doing very well. I know she sold a whole raft of books, some of which she'd signed Runaway Rustler because apparently she spelt stuff wrong because it's Mayu. Of course she did. Just living the gimmick. I love it. But there is a particular clip where Mayu is quite literally running away from home. She runs into the middle of Mine, the city, and she gets hit by a lorry or a van. And that van is driven by President Okada, who gets to get a little acting credit in there. And I didn't realize it was him the first time, but I did think, he looks familiar. And then I just realized it was Okada with a mustache. So there you go. A little bit of an acting credit for the new president of Bushi Road Fight. Anyway,
I didn't see that, and I've seen the trailer 4 or 5 times and that clip 4 or 5 times. So it looks great. I didn't know that was Mr. Okada. So what you're trying to tell me is the guy who's pretty much running Stardom hit the icon of Stardom with a bus. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Well, let the speculation begin. Mayu to Marigold is confirmed, right? You can't be hitting your top star with the bus and then expect her to stay in the company, right? You need to jump ship.
That's true. That's true. I mean, to be fair, I think it's quite impressive that Taro Okada is able to sneak himself into the movie by just wearing a mustache. It's like Superman. It's like Clark Kent being able to disguise his identity with a pair of sunglasses. Maybe Taro Okada is the new Superman. Is it him behind Gokick and Death's face paint? We've been assuming it's Kaori Yoneyama for all these years. Maybe it's Taro Okada. Who knows?
Oh my God.
The conspiracy theories start here. Anyway, let's talk about Stardom's latest pay-per-view outing, which was from the 18th of May 2024. Stardom Flashing Champions from the Yokohama Budokan, Yokohama Kanagawa. Let's talk a little bit about the attendance. Stardom announced a number of 927 for this show. So a little bit of context to that. Stardom have obviously run the Yokohama Budokan a lot recently, have run 15 shows at the venue since 2021. 927 is the 4th lowest of those 15 shows and is the lowest at the venue since New Blood Premium in March 2023, which drew just over 700 people. The other 2 shows that drew below this were the 2 opening nights of the 2021 5-Star Grand Prix, which of course still had certain COVID restrictions on it. It's also significantly under the average that Stardom usually draws at this venue, with the average being 1,222 people. So, Matt, I can't imagine that Stardom are going to be particularly happy with this number. I know that there was no Red Belt match. I know that there was no Goddess match. There was no IWGP match, obviously, but I imagine that Stardom would still be looking for 1,000 people to put inside the Yokohama Budokan because, again, this is a venue now that Stardom are running with quite consistent regularity. So you would assume that you would be able to draw to this. 927 isn't the greatest number to be drawing in a market where you do usually draw. And it is worth saying as well, that crowd might be the quietest Stardom crowd I've ever heard. And I know that we've had a couple of issues miking the crowd recently on a couple of the live streams that have gone straight to Stardom World. But that crowd were really, really quiet. And all credit goes to the wrestlers because every single wrestler tried absolutely everything to get this crowd involved. And you know, to the tail end of some of the matches, the crowd started to get involved. You could hear them during the Willow Nightingale match when Willow literally was clapping at them going, come on, do something. But overall, Matt, quite disappointed in the crowd, and I'm sure Stardom are disappointed in the overall attendance.
Yeah, 927 people. You figured flashing champions, you want to get 14 to 1,500 people. I think, and I made mention last week when we previewed this show, it's a solid card, but you have your two hottest champions, the Goddess of Stardom champions, FWC, and your big champion, the red belt champion, Maika, not defending the championships on this show. And I think another thing is some of these matches were literally put together almost last minute, like that. You literally are taking a big star that's on TV in Willow Nightingale, and you're bringing her over, and you had less than a week to build it. And the fact that you're spending way more time building her and Mercedes Moné for this weekend, which is understandable, but considering the fact they never once made mention on any AEW programming last week that, oh yeah, by the way, Willow Nightingale is going over to Japan to defend the TBS title against Tam Nakano. Here's the ways that you can watch it or follow, subscribe to Stardom World, or there was nothing. Like you couldn't take 20 or 30 seconds to be like, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, because Willow might not be defending the title against Mercedes. She's got to get through Tam Nakano, and Tam's no pushover. She's former Goddess champion, former Artist champion, former White Belt champion, former Red Belt champion, made to the finals of the 2022 5-Star Grand Prix. You could have at least done that to build some intrigue up. But I think it's a combination of not having your two hottest champions on the show, or not, excuse me, they were on the show, but not defending their belts. Again, on a show that was called Flashing Champions, and that some of these matches were kind of put together last second. Like, we didn't see the full card announced until, 6-7 days prior, which is the complete opposite of what Marigold's doing. They obviously have the big show coming up in Sumo Hall, and that's like 7 weeks away. So we have that build where this was kind of almost like sandwiched together. Now, I know that they're starting to already sell tickets and really starting to pump up their two pay-per-views, the one coming in June and one in July. Maybe we start seeing what the cards are going to look like this weekend, next week, and we start building that up, and we start doing the slow burn to it. 927 people is a good house, but for what they're usually drawing in the Yokohama Budokan, yeah, you probably want to get 400 or 500 more people in this show. But this is something where it's like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's go back to the drawing board. What worked and what didn't work, and let's fix our mistakes. You have the talent there to do it. We've seen Mr. Okada. He's running this company for the last 4 or 5 months and doing an absolute stellar job of it. And again, it was a great show. There's nobody that can deny this was a fantastic show, but at the same time, you want to be able to draw a little bit more money. So you have to take a step back and like, okay, I have this loaded roster. I've been doing a really good job with the booking. Certain things I tried out didn't work out the way that I want to. How should we fix this? And again, you have the roster that is talented enough that it really should be an easy fix. So maybe you take one step back to take 2 steps forward. And I fully think that's what Stardom's going to do leading into the shows, the pay-per-views this summer, and then going into the 5-Star Grand Prix.
Yeah, the 5-Star Grand Prix, where ironically the opening night will be at the Yokohama Budokan. I think that with the card, you did mention that yes, they did announce this, less than a week before. They were holding back because of injuries. I don't know I know there was obviously some uncertainty around Rian, and we know that obviously she's injured now. I know there was uncertainty as well around Saya Kamatani. So I do wonder if they were having to hold off because of that. So I will give them a pass for that. In terms of comparisons to the other Flashing Champions card, it's been run 3 times now. This is the first one where there's been no red belt defense. I know that the other 2 Flashing Champions were in Tokyo, because I know the first one was at Ota City General Gymnasium. So 2022 drew 1,800, and then 2023, which again was at Ota Ward City Gym and had that double title match between Mina and Tam, that drew 17,500. 17,500.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? So 1,759 people were in that one. So it's a significant drop from 2023 to 2024. And again, different market because it's Kanagawa, different card because it is the obviously the white belt on top, not the red belt. However, you literally had Maika, Mina Shirakawa, and Xena doing nothing on this card. You could quite easily have had an Artist of Stardom Championship match. There's a couple of different changes you can do. However, obviously, that's not where we are. And in fairness, the matches that we got were very good. 2 were very, very good. So I'm not going to be complaining too much about this pay-per-view. However, like I said before, I can't imagine Stardom are that happy with the number. And it'll be really interesting to see how this compares to the Yokohama Budokan show when they finally get round to the 5-star Grand Prix in August, because that first day, that obviously sets the stage for the rest of the tournament. So we'll see how that goes. Let's go on to the pre-show match. So the kickoff match saw Hina and Ronnie Yagami go to a time limit draw in 10 minutes. Standard fair match. I did think they'd give Hina the victory. Obviously, with her just coming back from a 5-month injury to her wrist. However, I know that Ranna Yagami was heading in to catch the wave the very next day, so you didn't necessarily want to send her into that tournament, with a loss hanging over her. It was decent enough. Both women looked very good, but overall, it was a pre-show time limit draw. There's not a great deal to say about it, apart from both women looked as solid as we know they can be.
I think for the YouTube pre-show pay-per-view matches, this was one of the better ones. I thought this was really good. Again, by no means is it Sherry versus Utami, but I thought it was really good. It was a really simple story to tell, where you had Hina's judo background going against Ranna Yagami's striking, like her karate and her jiu-jitsu background, because you would see the striking, and then you would see the striking being countered by some of the judo throws that Hina does, and then they'd be mixing in their different styles of submission, which I thought was really good. Again, solid stuff. This isn't going to be one that's going to finish high on my top 5 match list. But again, both worked really hard. I think Hina in her new gear looks terrific. Ranna Yagami, every time that she has a match, especially, again, the singles match against Hina, the singles match that she had in Catch the Wave, she's able to navigate herself and her opponent and where she needs to be. And of all these new crop of rookies, now that Yuzuki is in Marigold, I think she stands above everybody else. I really, really do. Good stuff. Again, something that is not going to be talked about at the end of the year for a match of the year contenders, but both ladies worked really hard. I had it at 3.25 stars.
We then started the main show proper with an absolutely blinding tag match between two of the best teams in Stardom. Crazy Star, Maika and Suzuki took on Mutual Love, Natsupoi and Starlight Kid. This also went to a time limit draw, a 15-minute time limit draw. But a couple of things to note. Starlight Kid came out in her old Stars costume in matching colours with Natsupoi. There was some beautiful tag team offense from both teams. Mutual Love might legitimately be my new favorite tag team in Stardom. Speaking of teams that gel, I mean, they've teamed together once before, and yet they have such an unspoken chemistry between the two. Both are so phenomenal at selling. Both are so great, quick, and aggressive on offense as well. They work so well together. And if there is going to be a team that dethrones FWC in the near future, I want it to be Mutual Love, because genuinely, what a team. And they are against, again, Crazy Star, who are on an absolute tear at the moment. Even in losing the Goddess belts, they were fantastic. And I love the disparity between the speed and technical precision of Maika and the explosive power of Suzu Suzuki. I feel like they've really crafted their own niche in Stardom at the moment and are genuinely one of the most exciting things to watch in Stardom. However, Matt, before we talk about the match, when do you reckon was the last pay-per-view that started with 2 time limit draws?
Yeah, and that man's not even booking. Maybe it was something was at the end of his contract. He's like, oh, by the way, I get to book 2 matches, TLD and TLD. And it's really weird because on our preview show, I did have the Mayu tag match going to the TLD, and I was like, oh man, I was right on one tag match, but wrong on the other. Regardless, this was great. The fact that this match got 15 minutes, and I think if they would have said, hey, either you have a 12-minute match where there is a definite winner, or you have a 15-minute match where it's like 50-50, and it goes the time limit the 15 minutes, I would have preferred this, because you're keeping both teams strong. Crazy Star was on an absolute tear, defeating Aphrodite to win the tag belts, barely losing the tag belts to FWC, and then the weekend between that they've won every tag match that they've had. So they really haven't lost anything. And they can make an easy assumption that they are the number one contenders and deserve a rematch against FWC, which I'm sure nobody will say no to. But at the same time, Natsupoi and Starlight Kid really took them to the limit. I mean, there's some really good stuff here. You mentioned Starlight Kid and Natsupoi having great chemistry as tag team partners, just having 2 matches. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's that one spot that they did, and they did it in their match, the All Together match against O2 Line, where Natsupoi does the no-handed flip splash, and Starlight Kid at the same time does the standing moonsault, where their opponents are laying down adjacent, which I think is really cool because the timing is really good. They do the dive spots really well together. And then obviously Natsupoi, Starlight Kid, Mei Seira, all former high-speed champions. So you do have like that aspect. And you have Suzuki just coming there and just being so explosive with her strikes and her offense. And Natsupoi, who does such a great job at getting her ass kicked, but brings it as well. There's one spot where her and Suzuki start trading forearms. And I'm like, poor Natsupoi, this isn't going to end well. But she holds steady with the former deathmatch queen and the winner of last year's 5-star Grand Prix, where these two are just throwing bombs at each other back and forth. Obviously, the tag team work of Suzu and Mei we've seen for the past year has been terrific. They were the MVPs, in my opinion, of last year's Goddess of Stardom tag tournament. They had one of the best tag matches in all of wrestling last year against Saori Poi. And again, Natsupoi is in this match, so you know she's got great chemistry with both Suzu and Mei. Really, really good stuff here. I love the double slice, the catapult sliced bread combination that Mutual Love do. I think that's something really cool to put in their arsenal. And again, this is, if we're not sure what we're going to do with Natsupoi between now, I think we're trying to heat her up for the white belt. She's not there yet. Maybe it's something that we get after the 5-star. This is something her team with Starlight Kid is something that they can do that's entertaining, that'll sell tickets, that'll get her over, that'll get Starlight Kid over, and her opponents over. Really good tag match. Great way to start what was ultimately a really good in-ring product show. I had this at 4.25 stars, and hopefully this is a match somewhere soon we see them run it back, because there was not a winner, so it's an easy story to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. I gave it 4 stars. I thought this was an explosive way to start the match. I thought all 4 women gave absolutely everything. Again, Mutual Love, I can see as future Goddess of Stardom champions. You needed a team to fill that Aphrodite void, and Crazy Star have stepped up. You've got FWC who've stepped up and had 2 absolutely blinding matches. O2 Line look like they're being pushed into that scene as well. Mutual Love now have appeared as well, and suddenly you have a very, very, very strong tag division with 4 very, very good teams. And this was just one installment of what I'm sure will be a fantastic series of tag matches if you continue to pit these teams against each other. Very, very exciting. We move on to a singles match then. The red belt champion, Maika, belt not on the line here, it is worth noting, defeating her EXV teammate Hanako in 9 minutes and 41 seconds with the Michinoku Driver 2. Sort of built around Hanako wanting to prove herself inside EXV against the red belt champion. I think she did a tremendous job of proving herself against Maika. I think she gave as good as she got, and I think Maika is one of those people, which she proved against Megan Bayne, is really good at having matches against these power wrestlers. And ordinarily, Maika is the aggressor in those sorts of matches, and she certainly was here a little bit as well. But she's so good at taking a beating from someone who is more powerful than her. And I think it's because we're so used to seeing her dominate matches because of her size and power. Yet Hanako is taller and more powerful in some respects. And I think that was a really, really, really cool sort of thing that they had knitted through this match, that Maika had all these power moves that she couldn't necessarily execute because Hanako is just as powerful. And it was why the Megan Bayne match was so exciting at the Philly show, and why this match I genuinely thought was really impressive. And again, you know, it's an adage as old as time that we say on the Stardom cast, but it's not who loses, it's how you lose. And I think Hanako, there's no shame in losing to the top champion in Stardom, obviously. I don't think anyone in the world who watches Stardom had Hanako winning this match. However, to give as good as she got, and Maika gave her loads, by the way, it is worth saying. But ultimately, I think Hanako comes out the real winner in the fact that she's been elevated, certainly in EXV. anyway. And hopefully we'll see a little bit more progression for Hanako, because personally, she's been one of the most improved wrestlers over 2024 for me. I think she's really, really, really begun to take off. And I don't really see her as a rookie now. I mean, I know that she is technically, well, she is the same class as Saya Sakura, and she's only a couple of months ahead of Rani Yagami and Sayaka Kurora. But personally, I think Hanako is light years ahead of them. And I don't know what that is, but again, this just proved to me that, you know, she's progressing at a really, really, really good pace. My only negative about this match, and it's not even a negative about this match, it's a negative in general, is that you have got your red belt champion with nothing better to do. And Mike's actually come out in Tokyo Sport and said, I've had no one challenge for the red belt. What the hell is this? You know, why is nobody wanting the biggest belt in Stardom? And obviously we saw a challenge for the IWGP Women's Championship later on the card. We seem to have a direction for the white belt at the end of the main event, yet no one seems to be challenging for the red belt. So it's an interesting time for Maika as the red belt champion, Matt.
Yeah, obviously, again, you want to be drawing tickets. You want your main champion that you've been pushing. You know, this is exactly what the brass at Bushi Road wanted at the end of the year, was Maika to win the red belt. And she's, you know, again, I am completely on this Maika train. You know, Maika won the belt. I'm like, okay, it's going to be a good reign. Maika's fantastic. But I wanted to fast forward to get to the Saya Kamatani reign. And then after the Momo Watanabe match, I'm like, not even the Momo match, the Utami match from the finals of the Cinderella tour. I'm like, no, we'll get there eventually. I'm not ready yet. I am all ready for a Maika 1 year, you know, 14, 16, V8, V9, V10 run. And the fact that she's not getting, you know, why couldn't, what did Shuri do on this card? You know, you could have had Shuri versus Maika. And then again, Shuri is another one that Maika was not able to climb the mountain. She wasn't able to climb the mountain against Saya Kamatani. Saya beat her to retain the Wonder Belt and then beat her in the year prior, defeat her to win the Cinderella finals. Able to overcome Saya Kamatani. Never able to defeat Utami in a red belt match. And then was able to finally beat her in a red belt match. So she's all these mountains that she wasn't able to climb. Now that she's climbing them and she's conquered them. Why not Shuri? And it's an easy story to tell. Shuri's never got a rematch for that belt. She's defeated Maika in the 5-star before. She defeated Maika in her reign back in 2022. Why weren't we giving a Maika versus Shuri match? We've been teasing Maika versus Tam ever since Maika won the belt, because Tam never technically lost it. And I understand they had Tam and Willow. That's the way they wanted to go. Fine. But there's a whole bunch of other things that you could have given us here. Regardless, this is what we got. And this was really good. Again, we made mention last week when we previewed the show that Hanako, this has to be her best match. And it was. Not only that, but this is something that Maika had to take somebody that is on the lower mid card and pull up and make them look as good as they can. Because that's what champions do. You want other wrestlers in your roster to look better, because maybe in a year and a half from now, or maybe in the 5-star Grand Prix in 2 years, they have a big match. And it's just like, well, Maika made her look really good when she was coming off her rookie year, when Maika was red belt champion. And that's what Maika did. Hanako, her best performance that she's ever had. Maika was able to take somebody that's not Suzu, that's not Shuri, that's not Utami, that's not Sai Kamatani, and make them look really, really good and give them their best match. And ultimately, it really benefits Maika, because what faction is Hanako part of? Maika's faction. So again, that helps Maika out, because it's like, here's somebody that's in my faction that almost went toe to toe with me and went almost 10 minutes and almost got the better of me, that is in my faction. She's part of my team. Again, a really good match. We had a lot of Himika sprinkled in this match. We had Hanako using the JP coaster. We had the running concussion bomb. So it was nice that the Jumbo Princess is nice to see. We still see her footprints and her fingerprints all over the Stardom roster, considering the fact that, believe it or not, partner, she's been retired for more than a year, which is crazy. It just seemed like yesterday she was announcing her retirement, and she had that 3-month runoff, and that's been over a year. But regardless, good match. Again, Maika, kudos on her being able to take somebody that's just coming off her rookie year and make her look credible to maybe somewhere where she can be main eventing a Korakuen show in 6, 7, 8 months from now. And Hanako really, really brought it. Excellent stuff. 3 3/4 stars for me, sir.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, we've had that Himika is going to be not coming out every time, but more making appearance on the cross show that we talked about earlier, now Kakuta's sort of produce show. So it's interesting that we see the Himika footprint, as you said. She's with us in spirit, clearly. But yes, overall, I think you've got a very good point. I think this match, it was good for Hanako, certainly, but there was a lot of people on this card that you could quite easily have put into a red belt match. It didn't, if you don't want to burn through Maika and, Saori on this card, fair enough. But you had an entire Artist of Stardom #1 contendership Gauntlet match. Are you saying that you couldn't take one of those teams out and have, I don't know, anyone from a Tekla to a Konami to an Azumi challenge for the red belt? I feel like there is something you could have done with Maika, and it's going to be interesting if they weave this into some sort of storyline with Maika, the fact that no one seems to want to step up and challenge. I'm intrigued to see where this is going. Nevertheless, I did enjoy this match. 3.5 stars from me. I thought, again, the main focus of this was Hanako, and it's nice to give her the rub somewhat. During the video package, by the way, it was announced that Stardom The Conversion will be the latest pay-per-view. That's going to be on the 22nd of June at Yoyogi National Stadium in Tokyo, which is the day after New Blood 13, which is going to be in New Hall at Tokyo. There was also the announcement of the names of the 2 back-to-back nights in Hokkaido, in Sapporo, and they're going to be Stardom Sapporo Wonder Rendezvous. I don't know what that means, but that's what they're called, Stardom Sapporo Wonder Rendezvous, and they're going to emanate 27th and 28th of July from Hokkaido Shattere's Gato Kingdom, which is perhaps one of the coolest named venues in Stardom. We move on then to the next match, which was a 6-woman tag match featuring Matt's favorite wrestler of all time, Azusa Inaba and Oedo Tai, defeating the Empress Nexus Venus team of Mina Shirakawa, Xena, and Waka Tsukiyama. Rina pinning Waka Tsukiyama with the diving double knee drop. Now, Matt, the biggest surprise for me in this entire match was that we have watched Fukigen Death, or Gokigen Death, or Death Yamasan fail with the Brainbuster on a multitude of people, on a whole host of people. However, here, not only did she succeed, she succeeded on bloody Xena. Like, the height disparity between the two was outrageous, but somehow she managed to break out the Brainbuster Death. It was incredible, Matt.
Yeah, it was something because usually calls for it. And that's an old wrestling thing. It's just like, oh, I'm going to do a top rope body splash. Wait till you see this. And they're going to miss. And you see it coming a mile away, but it's still interesting. And the fact that Fukigen Death, the clown prince herself, always yells the brain buster death. Like, she does that. Now that then there's always where she has the person in the corner, and then she does the death, Fukigen Death, or Goken Death, or Queen Clown Death, or whatever she is, and then she just eats a boot and goes back and forth. And that's part of her stick. It's comedy. It's fun. She's great at what she does. She has definitely a place in Stardom for all that. However, Rob, I do have to mention something that really, really irked me. The point where it was like I was very upset, and I'm not somebody that gets upset. Now, I don't know. I've never been to Japan. I hope to be going there sometime soon. I don't know what the tobacco laws are in Japan. I know a couple years ago here in the States, they switched the tobacco laws from 18 to 21. You have to be 21 to participate in any sort of tobacco. So I don't know what it is in Japan. I know the drinking age is younger there. So maybe I don't have a reason to be upset. However, early in the match, Azusa Inaba and Rina, who I believe are 16 and 17, give or take, respectively, they do the fake smoking spot with one Fukigen Death. Now, I don't know if there should be fines. I don't know if there should be suspensions, my friend. I know we are big fans of the clown here, but this is something they really, really need to take to task on one Fukigen Death. The fact that she is corrupting the youth of Japan and Joshi by giving them cigarettes. And ultimately, I think that's what led to their downfall in this match. Oh, actually, no, they won. Oh my goodness. Maybe that's why they won. Regardless, maybe they should have been drug tested afterwards because what was in those cigarettes, I don't know. Anywho, my man. Xena in this match, even though she took a brain buster, she was very dominant. They did a great job building her up and just making her look like an absolute badass that she is. And again, we talk about this quite a bit on the show. Xena in her first run last year looked really good. Ever since she's been back, she's been super, super dominant, and she is a perfect piece into the EXV team. Favorite parts of the match for me were the throwdowns between Azusa and Nabe and Mina Shirakawa. Just their stuff back and forth I thought was really good. Of course, Waka takes an ass kicking and never really gets much of a comeback. That's kind of the charm of Waka. I do like how the finish did set up with Waka was really getting up on Rina to the point where it's like maybe Waka surprises Rina, gets and is able to pin her, and then gets a title shot because we don't have a Future of Stardom championship match set up. And maybe that's where they go. But Azusa Inaba comes in, big head kick, big backdrop driver, and that leads Rina to do the double knee bomb from the top rope. Really good stuff, really fun stuff, despite the, folks, if you've been in Japan, let me know what the tobacco laws are over there, because this is something that I think we need further investigation on. Regardless, fun stuff, didn't wear out its welcome, did what it needed to do, and Rina getting another win on pay-per-view. 3.5 stars for me.
So what you're actually saying here, Matt, is that smoking pays, which is interesting from the tobacco salesman. Overall,
You're supposed to kayfabe
that. Overall, I thought this was fine. It was sort of a palate cleanser before we got to the main sort of meat of the show. I've made no secret of the fact that I think that could have been an Artist of Stardom belt challenge here with all three of the champions not really doing much. But overall, I thought it was fine. I thought Rina got some of the spotlight. I think Azusa Inaba, every time I see her, along with Tomoka Inaba, are incredibly talented, and especially Azusa seems to have taken to wrestling incredibly well. And those throwdowns, as you mentioned, with Xena were very, very, very good. Really, really excited to see what she can do in the next couple of years. I gave it, trying to find it, 3 stars. I gave it the gentleman's 3. Moving on, then, we had an Artist of Stardom Championship #1 contendership gauntlet match with the Uedatai team of Tekla, Natsukatora, and Momo Watanabe becoming the new #1 contenders for the Artist of Stardom Championships. They went through the Cosmic Angels team of Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurora, and Yuna Mizumori, the God's Eye team of Saori, Konami, and Saki Kashima, the Queen's Quest team of Azumi, Lady C, and Miyu Amasaki, and the Stars team of Koguma, Momokogo, and Hazuki, last defeating God's Eye, Momo Watanabe, pinning Konami in 19 minutes and 43 seconds with the Hidden Otashi driver. Matt, I think absolutely the right decision to have Uedatai as the new #1 contenders to the Artist of Stardom Championships. I don't know if you saw Tekla's post-match where she basically said, look, I don't care about the Artist of Stardom Championships, I care about who's holding them. And then proper went after Mina Shirakawa for being the idol. I love that because it's focused and it brings a purpose to Uedatai. Really, really, really big fan of that. It was nice to see Lady C get a pinfall because I can't even remember the last time I saw her get a pinfall. Overall, I thought Queen's Quest looked really solid, but for me, the match really picked up with those final 2 teams, Uedatai and God's Eye, especially the exchanges between Momo Watanabe and Konami, who just seemed to want to kick the gear off the other one, which I'm all about, Matt Turner.
Yeah, you know what? From a work rate perspective, and I never give gauntlets ratings because it wouldn't be fair to Yuna and Aya and the Cosmic Angels team and Sayaka because they were only in it for a little bit. So regardless, I thought this was great. This was one of the better gauntlets that Stardom has done, and they've done some really good ones. But I think as a whole, for me, Lady C was the MVP of this whole gauntlet, and they did have the most matches. They did have 3 matches. You made mention about how it picked up the last 2, and I'm not going to disagree with you, but I think the best part for me by far was the exchanges with match number 2 with Queen's Quest versus Stars. You have Azumi, Miyu Amasaki, O2 line, Lady C, and then you have FWC, the tag champs in Kagama Hazuki, and Momo Kogo, who's always really good but ever since coming off her last round of injuries, has really, really kicked it up another notch. I thought that was the best part. I would love to see them have a proper 6-person tag match where they go 10, 11, 12 minutes because I thought their stuff was really good. And Azumi, she always just blows me away just how good she is. Obviously, she's great with Miyu Amasaki as part of O2 line, but her teamwork with Lady C is terrific. And we've seen them do this spot a handful of times before, but it still blows my mind how she gets on top of Lady C's shoulders. Lady C is able to balance both her and Azumi and walk a few feet, and then Azumi just drops off Lady C's shoulders and does this insane double stomp. It's absolutely crazy. Again, really good stuff. The Cosmic Angels team, they looked really good. Again, the Stars Trio and Queen's Quest, I thought they were terrific. Oedo Tai, they did what they need to do. Obviously, Momo Watanabe's fantastic. Tora's great in her role. This new role in Tekla is terrific. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking as great as Stars versus Queen's Quest were, if you're looking to break down a one-on-one, what was the meat of the bone and the MVP of this match was definitely Konami versus Momo Watanabe. Two hard hitters, two people that really understand their characters and their movesets, and considering the fact that was the main part of the match for ultimately Momo Watanabe to get a win, because we weren't sure what they were going to do with Momo Watanabe after the loss to Maika. And the fact that she gets a win here and helps them become the number one contenders is really interesting. And Tora, Tekla and Momo versus Maika, Mina, and Xena match somewhere down the line, I think that's going to be absolutely fantastic, my friend. Ultimately, like I said, I don't like to give, just out of respect, I don't like to give star ratings on gauntlet matches, but this was a really, really good gauntlet match. The fact that it almost went 20 minutes and didn't feel like that because everything had its place, everything made sense. I thought this was a really, really good one. And I knew it would be good, but I didn't know it would be as good as it was.
So, a couple of questions, really. First of all, do you think Oedo Tai beat EXV? Do you even think they care about beating EXV? Do you think it could potentially go to a no contest with Tekla just completely obliterating Mina Shirakawa? Do you think we are heading towards perhaps a Momo Watanabe and Konami singles match? Because I know I would really, really, really like to see that. And Miyu Amasaki, I feel, was another real star in this because she took a huge amount of the beating, and she's someone that, again, because of the sheer volume of bodies in the ring, might get overlooked. But again, it's another step in the progress that she's made. But what do you think, Matt, in terms of Oedo Tai winning and a Momo and Konami singles match?
Obviously, Momo and Konami, I mean, I'm not going to say no to that. Yeah, absolutely, of course. Whether it's, somewhere on one of these quote-unquote Stardom World shows that they're going to live stream, or maybe something that they run back during the 5-star. But considering the fact that they did zone in on that part of the match, it seems like somewhere where they want to go. And again, you want to put more butts in seats. You want to sell more tickets. And with Stardom World now doing more live streams, that's something that's worth your $7 alone. Momo Watanabe versus Konami in a proper singles match, even a main event of a KBS hall, and let them go, 13, 14, 15 minutes, something like that. I mean, who wouldn't say no to that? I think it'd be terrific. Momo Watanabe's been really, really on another level since the 5-star last year. Again, really understanding where she needs to be as far as a great in-ring worker and as far as a heel character. And ever since Konami's been back, she's looked better than ever. So yeah, absolutely. As far as Oedo Tai winning the artist belts, I can see it. I know they usually don't do long reigns with these belts. I think the only way for them not to walk out as champions is if they lose by DQ. Because I think if you beat this new version of Oedo Tai right out the gate, considering how hot they've been since the Tekla heel turn on Mina Shirakawa, only for them to lose to a team that has Mina Shirakawa, really wouldn't make sense. So you can have them win the artist belts, and then maybe it's something where maybe Tora gets the pinfall, and then Tora then challenges Maika to maybe that's your next red belt match. That's a possibility. That's somewhere they can go. I think the only thing that wouldn't make sense is if Oedo Tai loses clean in the ring. And that's no disrespect to Maika, Mina, and Xena, who are obviously all fantastic. But considering the fact that we're putting a lot of stock into this new version of Oedo Tai, where they're getting wins, I don't think they've lost. Tekla hasn't eaten a pinfall, or not only not eaten a pinfall, but the team that she's been on has not eaten a loss since the heel turn about a month ago. So clearly it's something that you're building up. only for them to lose, to me, it wouldn't make sense. So I think your only two options would be for them to win the belts or for them to lose by like a DQ or count out or a match getting thrown out.
Let's move on to the High Speed Championship match, which saw the champion Saori Anou make her first successful title defense against her former Team 3838 partner Saori Anou in 11 minutes and 10 seconds with the Frankensteiner. I absolutely love this match, Matt. Just 11 minutes of pure carnage, and do you know what? Saori Anou moveset fits perfectly in the high speed picture. But I thought it was interesting something she'd said about changing the perception around the high speed championship and about how it's going to open up people who can challenge for the belt. And I think this match did that for me because yes, there was certainly high speed spots, especially in those opening exchanges, and then as we neared the closing stretch. However, there was enough in there to make it seem like basically a match that accented Saori Anou's strengths, but also accented Saori Anou strengths, and I love that about this match. I think it was a really good, solid first title defense for Saori, who, we all said, having that change of scenery, being the high-speed champion, it will be good for both the belt and for Saori. I think that's ringing even more true now because genuinely I think these two carried on with the chemistry that they showed at All-Star Grand Queendom.
One thing with this match, Robin, I got to get my first note out of the way. Did you see, after they did the video package, before this match started, before Saori came out, what was on the video wall to hype up? It was only on there a few seconds. What the photo was they had on the video wall before Saori Anou came out.
No, I didn't.
When I tell you this, you're going to be very disappointed in me, yourself, and this podcast, because when I saw this picture, I literally wrote down in my notes, and I thought in my head, how did me and Rob Goodwin, the stardom, the people that cover Stardom so well, with a side of silly, how did we not see this? The video, or not the video, the picture, was a gorilla fighting a phoenix. Rob, how did we not put that together?
That's amazing.
How did we not put that together? I was like, oh my, like, it's so cool. But I was like, and I literally popped and I wrote down a note and I was like, son of a gun, how do we figure that one out, right?
Incredible.
The gorilla fighting a phoenix. But yeah, this was really good. Again, we don't think Saori Anou is going to have a super long Azumi style run with this belt. It's something for her to do to make this belt look more important before she goes on and has what is going to be a fantastic run in the 5-star Grand Prix. However, coming out of this, Rob, would not break my heart for Saori Anou to have a run with that belt, because we now know what a high-speed championship run from Saori Anou would be. It would be high-speed violence, because this match was really good. And I like the psychology of this match where it starts out really fast, almost to the point where Saori Anou is like, okay, I'm fast and I hit hard, but I got to slow down the Phoenix here. I'm the gorilla. She's the Phoenix. Like, I can't keep up with Saori Anou at this pace. So what does she do? She slows her down. She hits the spine buster. She grinds her down a little bit. She starts hitting the chops. She almost like dominates Saya, like in the mid part of this match, like really dominating her by slowing down the pace a little bit to fit her own game, because Saori Anou has the high speed style. She has that explosive offense. It's the reason why she was Wonder of Stardom champion for almost 500 days. And then she goes for the Ida Rock, the Diamond Dust. And Saori Anou must have been watching that WrestleMania match with Bayley and Io Shirai, because how Io was able to get out of that second attempt of the Rosebud is exactly what Saori Anou does. It looks like Saya is going to get planted on the top of her forehead, but she bridges and flips out. And I was like, that was so cool. And just took this match to another level. So then they start doing the exchanges of the fast pinfalls. And this poor referee, Rob, there's so many falls. Literally, there's a bunch of 0 counts. There's a bunch of 1 counts. There's a bunch of 2 counts. And there's a bunch of 2.5 counts that this poor referee had to get up, get down, get up, get down, get up, get down. I'm like, this poor guy. I hope he got bonused afterwards, because this poor guy was probably blown up. Eventually, they just keep going back and forth. Saori Anou throws this crazy clothesline that we know that she does almost better than anybody on this roster. And Kamatani clearly puts us over as best as she can, taking like the 360 bump right onto the side of her neck, which I thought was great. And the finish was great because it looked like Saida was finally starting to get back in the match, getting back to her grind. But eventually it's her own speed that Saya Kamatani uses against her. She hits the Frankensteiner Hurricane Rana and is able to cradle Saida up for the pinfall. Really good match. Great way to start off Saya Kamatani's High Speed Championship run. And again, if they do pull the trigger 6 months, 7 months, a year from now on a Saida High Speed Championship run, this is the type of match that we can expect from the Gorilla. Really, really solid match. I had this one at 4 stars.
Agreed. I also had it at 4 stars. I do like the fact that they played off them knowing each other so well, especially in those early goings. The roll through pin into the double foot stomp, which Saya missed and then played down like the injury of the knee. Really, really, really well worked. That move from the Diamond Dust, the Ida Rock, brilliant. Really enjoyed that. Saya Ida genuinely had me when she did the Ida Basi. Really, really close 2 count, and that's a theme actually between this and the main event as well, where there was some really good 2 counts. This fantastic, great start to Saya Kamatani's reign. We've talked a lot about power, but we've also talked about how having power and acceleration is even more frightening. And I think Saya Ida, now that she's working with that pace and she's still got that gorilla power, she's going to be a frightening adversary when she comes to the high speed belt, because if that's where she's going, I'm more than happy to have her dethrone Saya sooner rather than later, to be perfectly honest, when we're ready to have Saya Kamatani in that red belt picture. Moving on then, tag team action, dream match, as the best friends Arisa Nakajima and Tsukasa Fujimoto defeated Eye Contact, Hanan and Mayu Iwatani. Fujimoto pinning Hanan in 21 minutes and 17 seconds with the Teo Chan bomb. So we have been treated over the last 2 days between this and the Marigold show to 2 absolutely phenomenal tag team matches. And this, Matt, we talked about Sari having a worker of the year portfolio for this year. Mayu Iwatani is not that far behind. Let's be perfectly honest, because again, this match was beautifully brutal. I loved this match, the way that all 4 women absolutely launched themselves into each other. And Hanan, the young lioness, was not taking anything sitting down. She said in the press conference about how, yes, you might not know who I am, but I'm going to show you who I am in this match. And she really, really did. Had some really, really good exchanges with both Nakajima and Fujimoto. But Iwatani and Nakajima, man, I really want that as a singles match. I know that Nakajima is on this singles run. This retirement run. I know that Fujimoto and Maya was going to be happening, which we'll talk about at the end. But I just want, even if it's only for 10 minutes, Arisa Nakajima and Maya Iwatani 1-on-1. Because good God, that would rock, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I know this is another discussion for another day, and you made this mention on the Marigold Standard Experience. Maybe we'll just all smush them together. That and you just made mention about 2 seconds ago, my man, that Sari is kind of like the wrestler of the year, the female wrestler of the year. And I'm not, going to go against you. I'm not going to doubt you. I think Mayu is doing a little bit better this year than Sari, and maybe just because I've seen all the Mayu matches, the tag matches, the artist matches, the singles matches. I think Mayu is having a better year than Sari. Again, another debate. Another debate for another question for another debate. Another debate for another day. That's what I wanted to say. Yes, this match, brother, this was fantastic. And I've seen some Arisa Nakajima stuff. I've seen very little Fujimoto stuff. Obviously, Mayu and Hanan, we've covered. Between me and you, we've seen every single one of their matches from 2020 until current day right now. And they were on their stuff. Hanan, again, coming off a big loss, so close of winning the Wonder of Stardom Championship at All-Star Grand Queendom, looked fantastic here. And Fujimoto and Nakajima, they were ever so violent to not only Mayu, but both Hanan. Really good teamwork to start with Mayu and Hanan. I mean, just classic Mayu stuff to get the early advantage in the match. And then we just see these crazy double stomps. There's that one spot where they do the Fujimoto does the trio woe double stomp to Mayu, and then you let it breathe for a few seconds, and then Nakajima does the double stomp to to follow up, which I thought was really cool. You're seeing 2 double stomps back to back on the icon of Stardom, and of course Mayu sells it as only Mayu will sell it. I mean, she's one of the best sellers in my opinion of the history of wrestling. And then they make the comeback. Hanan makes her comeback. Eventually, Hanan gets cut off. They get some brutal heat onto Hanan, and it's just every time that Mayu makes the save, it's just like Fujimoto just like beating her up and throwing her out of the ring. And there's one point in the match, and it's a great camera shot where, Nakajima has Hanan like a straight jacket camel clutch, and Mayu comes in the ring, and as soon as she comes in the ring, she flips her hair, and she's zombie Mayu. Very much like when the bell rang with her match against Yoshinko, and very much when she flipped that gear in that match last year against Mercedes Moné. I was like, uh-oh. She just flipped into zombie Mayu. Literally the point was like, all right, enough's enough. Like, enough's enough. And she just properly beats up Nakajima. Then her and Fujimoto go back and forth. I mean, then you have great tag work. We have violence. You have psychology. Everything made its place. I thought it was really, really good stuff here. And then you just see some phenomenal tag work between the best friends. Again, who I've seen very, very little as a tag team, but they completely blew me away. Hanan selling here was on another level. She was always good, but did a great job really building up the selling here. And eventually that's Fujimoto who hits. What's her version of the code red called, partner? Do you have that written down?
It's called the Teo-chan Bomb.
Oh, that sounds like a drink that you would have. Give me the Teo-chan Bomb and 6 slices with mushrooms, please. But I thought this was great. Again, another tag match of the year candidate, considering the fact that we had 2 of the best tag matches in all of wrestling within 48 hours of each other on the Joshi scene. Just goes to show you how lucky we are, and get another fantastic tag match with Stardom. My friend, I had this at 4 3/4 stars. And I do want to know, 1, what your star rating was, and 2, Fujimoto basically saying she wants to challenge Mayu for the IWGP Championship, but says she wants it in her ring. So I want you to kind of just want to pick your brain on where you think that this match is going to happen at.
So yeah, I gave this 4.5. I absolutely loved it. The chemistry between all 4 women, as I mentioned before, the brutality that left Mayu's eye literally swelling and closing up as she's cutting this promo at the end of the match to basically call out Fujimoto, basically saying, I want an IWGP Women's Championship match with you. Fujimoto says, yes, you can, but we're doing it in Ice Ribbon. I've come to your ring. I've beaten you. You need to come to my ring. And I think that's really good because obviously you are trying to gain even more exposure for the IWGP Women's Championship, and defending it in as many places as you possibly can against as many people as you possibly can is only going to help with the exposure of that belt. So doing it in Ice Ribbon against an Ice Ribbon legend in Fujimoto, I think it's only going to be a good thing. And I think it's going to do good numbers for Ice Ribbon to have that belt and Mayu Iwatani on that card. I think it will probably do better for Ice Ribbon potentially than it would for Stardom, Matt. I don't know how you feel about it.
I totally see the point. There's a reason why Fujimoto cut that promo, but at the same time, it's like, is this something? This is a big money matchup, but don't you think this is something that Stardom would want in their ring, considering the fact that it is an IWGP, so it's Bushiroad Championship? So that's where I was like, well, maybe it's like, okay, she did say that she wanted the match in Ice Ribbon, but we want to sell tickets for Stardom. So my 2 train of thoughts is, okay, we're going to do the match, obviously. I mean, it's set up here, but we're going to do it in the Stardom ring. Or it does happen in the Ice Ribbon ring. Once again, Mr. Okada is saying, no problem. If it makes sense, then we'll do it. How does this make sense for Stardom? You mentioned 2 minutes ago what Rob Goodwin wanted. Rob Goodwin, I'm going to give you an idea that you're going to get what you want, my man. Mayu defeats Fujimoto. And then he looks at Arisa Nakajima and says, I got my revenge on you. I need my revenge on you. You're going to retire, not until you get a shot at this championship, but it's going to take place in a Stardom ring. So then you have Mayu Nakajima before Nakajima rides off into the sunset into ends her Hall of Fame career, and you have that match for the IWGP Women's Championship in a Stardom ring. I think that's the way that you do it. And maybe that's the agreement that Stardom came with them. They said, okay, here's the deal. We're going to have you come in. You're going to defeat Hanan and Mayu. You're going to have a championship match. And Ice Ribbon's going to help sell tickets and whatever. and then Mayu's going to win, and then Nakajima's going to come over to Stardom for her last match in Stardom, and then you're going to have a match with Mayu. Maybe, and that's a win-win for everybody. I mean, how does that? I mean, that to me, that serves purposes for all those wrestlers because Nakajima's on her way out. She doesn't need a win. She doesn't need as she's retiring to defeat Mayu for the IWGP Championship. And again, everybody put over Hanan. Maybe Hanan goes over to one of their companies and one of her last matches, Hanan gets the win back. Why not? I mean, that's what to me is best for business. But I think you're going to get Mayu in a 2-match series out of this one, my friend.
I mean, you've won me over, my friend. It didn't take much, but the idea of Nakajima and Mayu in one-on-one just once before she retires is a very, very promising thought. And I think if Mayu is going to defeat Fujimoto, which I imagine she probably will, I think Nakajima is certainly the next logical step when it comes to that. So yeah, I'd be very, very happy with that. Let's move on.
Real quick, what was the time? I forgot to write it down. What was the time on the tag match?
21 minutes and 17 seconds.
Beautiful. Okay, brother. I'm ready when you are for the next match, which you may have the results wrong, but I'm here to here to help you out, buddy.
I'm sure I don't have the results wrong because I triple checked them, my friend. AEW TBS Championship match. Willow Nightingale, the 4th TBS champion, making a second defense, defeating Matt. Yes, she did defeat the challenger, Tam Nakano, in 17 minutes and 9 seconds with the brilliantly called Babe with the Power Bomb. Genuinely, I was so disappointed in the reaction to this match because and I don't know whether this was because it was announced sort of apropos, or whether it was just the quiet crowd, but I thought the two women deserved more noise than they got. Or is that just me, Matt?
1,000%. First of all, I have, and again, I'm at my notes. I have Tam 1 on points, but we'll discuss that at another time. Yeah, absolutely. Again, this crowd was very, very quiet. Willow is somebody that works in front of a larger audience and is able to get the audience behind her just from her entrance music hits. Obviously, those AEW crowds are very lively. And I understand the Japanese crowd is different from the American crowd. But then again, we watched the show that we saw 2 days after. It always seems Korakuen is always rocking, regardless if it's Stardom, Marigold, Tokuyoshi Pro, All Japan, New Japan. It always seems like Korakuen is just like they bring some of like the Chicago and Philly energy over with them. But yeah, because poor Willow, again, that's what American wrestlers do. They're more it's more of an entertainment style. They're trying to get the crowd involved. They want the crowd to be part of the show without going over the barricade, folks. You never want to do that. But Willow does that better than just about anybody in all of AEW. She's really great at that, is engaging the crowd. And God bless her heart. She tried so hard. So hard. And Rob, as far as this match was, I thought this match was fantastic. When this match was announced, I'm like, this will be fun. Like, obviously, Willow's great. Tam is terrific. But we saw the exchanges Willow had with Shuri in Philadelphia. I figured that's a match to go. You have the two powerhouses. They can kind of go back and forth. Again, Tam is a very good striker. Nowhere in the league of Shuri, but who is? But at the same time, Tam's majority of her offense is the German suplex, the Tiger suplex, the Twilight Dream. We've never seen Willow Nightingale get dropped on her head with those Japanese-style suplexes. So I figured maybe they'll tease one. They won't do it. Tam may get a couple close falls with the violent shooting. They may tease some stuff. This is credit to both Tam for giving the suplexes, which goes to show you the core strength she has, and Willow taking them properly on the back of her neck, bump herself to make Tam look good. But she took these German suplexes. She took the Tiger suplexes to the point where they were properly teasing the Twilight Dream. Like, well, it makes sense. Got her up a couple of times for those style suplexes. Yes, she can get her in the Twilight Dream, which is one of Tam's finishers. It beat Julia to win the Wonder of Stardom Championship 3 years prior. So it's like Willow is making Tam such a credible foe in this match and is doing everything she can to make Tam, who's already a main eventer, look better to the AEW audience that may never seen Tam before. And obviously Willow was terrific here. The lariats, just the the back and forth, the suplexes, the superplexes. I mean, these two really, really brought it. Now, I've never seen the match Willow had with Athena from Ring of Honor. From what I understand, that is probably Willow, from what I'm told, is Willow's best in-ring performance. But for what I've seen I've seen all of Willow's matches in AEW, because AEW is a wrestling company. I watch all of their shows. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Stardom fan, which I am. I'm not just saying this because outside of Stardom's accountant, I am the biggest Tam Nakano fan, which you know, Rob Goodwin. This was the best Willow Nightingale match that I've ever seen her have, and she's had some really good ones. Tam was terrific here. Yes, obviously it breaks my heart the crowd could care less about I'm not going to say care less about this match, but they should have been to this match than more they should have. Tam does a great job firing up the crowd. Obviously, Willow, again, she has that American TV exposure, wrestling in front of a couple thousand people. And the crowd was just like, smattering, and you could see kind of Willow was getting frustrated. But at that point, she's like, I'm just going to focus on having a good match with Tam. And they did. Again, terrific match, really good stuff. Hopefully we see some more AEW wrestlers coming over to Stardom. I had this at 4.25 stars, despite the crowd kind of needing a cup of coffee, my friend.
Yeah, and I don't think it was just Willow and Tam. I think it was sort of throughout the show.
Sure.
They seem to need 10,000 volts to sort of spring them into life. There was moments where you could tell the crowd was into it. I feel like they enjoyed the main event, but there was just times where you could hear a pin drop. And again, we don't know if that was just poor miking or if it was just a really poor crowd or if it was a mixture of both. But again, I saw a couple of people say they were disappointed in this match. I thought this match was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think Willow and Tam had really good chemistry. I think Tam looked good in defeat. Don't think she won on points, Matt, but you keep dreaming. But again...
Recount.
Willow really, really, really trying to pump up the crowd and just seeming to not get anywhere. Didn't put her off. She still put on a fantastic performance. And hoisting Tam into the babe with the powerbomb is always a good sign. It's a really good deadlift powerbomb. So well done to Willow. She retains and goes on to face Mercedes Moné on the 26th of May at Double or Nothing. Main event time then. Wonder of Stardom Championship on the line. V3 for Saori Anou, who defeats Ami Sourei in 24 minutes and 33 seconds with the Japanese Ocean Suplex hold. Matt, we predicted it. We said that this will be Ami Sourei's best match, best singles match, and I think she proved us correct here. She felt like a main eventer. She pushed Saori Anou all the way. We knew she wasn't going to win, but even so, some really good near falls, some really good work with the lariats and the power moves. Really, like I say, really good near falls. That kick out of the Like a Thunderbolt was really, really, really well timed by Anou. And I know it's something that you hate, people looking at the referee, because you know that they're then going to kick out. Saori Anou didn't do that for that. She didn't do it for the Blue Thunder Bomb. She didn't do it for the inside cradle. That was a really close 2 count either. Ami Sourei, I think, is someone who you can plug into this scene. She's not quite ready for the belt yet, but is someone who you can plug into this scene as a challenger and get predictably good matches. Again, I think she cemented herself in that upper mid-card scene, and I'm really happy for her. I think it'll be maybe 12 months before she's ready to actually hold that belt, but the fact that she was able to push Saori Anou all the way, really, really good for Ami Sourei, Matt.
We said a couple of things need to check the box, considering the fact this was going to be the main event of the Flashing Champion show that didn't have a red belt defense. We said that Ami Sourei needed to have the best match she's ever had. Check. We said that Saori Anou, who's absolutely fantastic, needed to take somebody that dabbles in the main event from time to time on the Stardom World shows and needs to make them look like, okay, they can be a constant main eventer in 6 to 8 months. Check. We needed, for the 2 shows that built up to this match, for the 2 falsies, the Potter Ring and the counter to the Potter Ring, to be teased for finishes for quick falls in this match. Check and check again. We also said in order for this match to really have an exclamation mark statement for the main event of the show, it needed to end it with the coolest move possible, and that sure was with Saori Anou planting Ami Sourei on the back of her head with the Japanese Ocean City suplex. Check. This checked all the boxes. This was fantastic. This is exactly what I wanted, and this is exactly what I got. This was 4.5 stars for me. This was terrific. And Saori Anou, I know a lot of people are saying it's going to be Natsupoi that dethrones her for the championship. And I know we saw a teased here. And very much like how I'm ready for the Saya Kamatani red belt run. No, not yet. Again, I'm really enjoying the Maika stuff. And if we have to wait to the end of the year, beginning of next year, I'm fine with that. And Saori Anou, I'm the same way. Natsupoi, I get it. We all love Natsupoi. We love the murder pixie. I'm not ready for Saori Anou to drop this white belt just yet, unless it's Suzuki. That's the exception to every rule. It's Suzuki. So that's again, Saori Anou is doing fantastic work with this belt. Again, the 2 matches she had with Mirai at the end of last year, the time limit draw that led to the rematch where she won the belt. Fantastic. Great match with Starlight Kid at the anniversary show. Phenomenal match with Hanan at All-Star Grand Queendom the month prior. She's doing fantastic tag work, whether she's tagging with Tam or Yuna or Natsupoi. And then she's doing terrific stuff here with the Wonder of Stardom Championship. And again, the big signing last year that Stardom had was Suzu Suzuki to a full-time contract. The big signing that they're having this year it's with Saori Anou to a full-time contract, because you can go deeper into this Wonder of Stardom Championship run. You can go deeper into her run in the 5-star Grand Prix. We all knew last year that she's an outsider, a freelancer coming in. She'll have some good matches, get 8, 9, 10 points, but she won't win the tournament. Now they can tease her being available to maybe go into the finals or maybe even win the 5-star Grand Prix, because now she's with Stardom full time and she's only working for that company. And the fact that she's having great matches, whether it's tag, whether it's the singles run with the Wonder Belt, or whether it's part of Cosmic Angels as a 6 or 8 person, just really goes to show you how great that she is. The aura, the entrance, everything that she does. It's one thing to be good curtain to curtain, but bell to bell, but she's so good curtain to curtain, like especially on these big Stardom shows with the production quality, with the entrance ramp. We saw it again at All-Star Grand Queendom when she comes out with that really cool music, and then the wall just separates and the camera catches her just turning, looking at the ring ever so suddenly. That's like, that's a star. That's a star. Then she gets in the ring and her wrestling is even better than her entrance. She's fantastic. And Ami Sourei, again, you just said it, partner, is proven. She's not there yet, but she's someone that when need to be tagged to, put in a main event scene, she can absolutely deliver. Again, especially when you have her against the main event talents like a Saori Anou, like Saya Kamatani, like if they go with the Saori Anou versus Maika match somewhere down the line for the red belt in a Korakuen Hall, it's going to be a fantastic match. Ami Sourei really brought it here. This is somebody, again, we've seen Stardom be able to elevate the mid-carders to upper mid-carders, the upper mid-carders to someone that can dabble in the main event, or Ami Sourei. She's just about there. It's only a matter of time before we see her constantly in the main event scene. And like you said, partner, you're so happy for her because she's worked her ass off. You can tell how much better she's gotten in the ring in the last 10, 11, 12 months. And I'm really excited to see what Ami does, for the rest of the year. Terrific match. Again, 4.5 stars. Again, despite attendance, low attendance numbers, despite the crowd, I don't know if they gave them sleeping pills when they walked in or what, despite how quiet the crowd was. From a wrestling aspect, partner, this was a phenomenal show. I think I had 5 matches at 4 stars or above. Really, really good show, and a great showing again from Saori Anou and Ami Sourei. And just another fantastic match that is the Wonder of Stardom Championship.
Yeah, I talked about this on the preview show, and I talked about how it's going to be interesting to see how Ami Sourei competes compared to the last time she went for the white belt against Saya Kamatani, and it's night and day. It really is, and that's not to say that Ami Sourei was bad back during that challenge. I just think she's progressed so well and is able to hold herself much more in the light of a main event than she was then, and that's credit to her. Saori Anou, we talk so much about aura and presence and star power, and about how you can be the greatest wrestler in the world, but if you don't have that aura when you come through the curtain, you don't feel like the top star. You're not going to feel like the champion. Utami has it. Julia has it. Mayu has it. But even Mayu has it in a different way to Julia, who has it in a different way to Utami. Saori Anou is another one who has that star power, who has that aura as she comes round and turns just slowly with the white belt lifted up. It's that regal sort of star power that she has, and she feels like a champion. Really, really, really good stuff. I'm yet to see a bad Saori Anou match. She's done nothing but have banger after banger, even in the 5-star Grand Prix. It does appear that the ultimate end goal is going to be Saori Poi exploding. It does look like Natsupoi is going to be heading for Saori Anou. Whenever that is, they did sort of make mention that a match is on the horizon, but not yet. And Anou was very clear, not yet. So I imagine we will have another couple of title defenses before we get to Natsupoi. And I think if there is anyone primed to take the belt from Saori Anou, it's going to be Natsupoi. And both of us are huge Murder Pixie fans. So I don't think either of us are going to be disappointed when Natsupoi finally gets her hands on that white belt that she's been after for so long. But credit where credit's due. Saori Anou has been doing great things with this white belt. And, you know, we've talked a little bit about Mirai, and on the Marigold Standard, we were full of praise for Mirai, full of praise for how she's reinvented herself and how over she was with the Korakuen crowd. I don't think... The match quality was really good with the white belt when she held it. She had a good match with Konami. She had a good match with Momo Watanabe. And she had a pair of good matches against Saori Anou, which in my opinion were her better matches. But she almost felt like an afterthought as the white belt champion for me. And I know that seems really, really harsh, but I don't know, there was something missing. And I think we've both said it, that something was missing in that championship reign for Mirai. And it felt almost like she was someone who, like Jungle Kiona, it was more about the chase than it was about the actual reign itself. But here with Saori Anou, she feels very, very much like a champion. And I'm wondering if it was that star power, that aura when she comes through the curtain, the way she carries herself. I'm wondering if that is the difference. And I'm wondering if you feel the same way. If that's the difference between this reign and Mirai's, Matt.
Yeah, that's what it can be. Mirai, just as great as she is in the ring, she just doesn't have that connect. I mean, now she does. Again,
Jesus, yes, she
like,
does.
There it is. Oh, there, like that one little thing she was missing. I'm like, oh, there it is. She got it. You know, it's something that can't be. People always say you can't be taught. Sometimes you just need to figure it out. Some people comes to quicker. Like you look at Julia, it seems like she's had that ever since her Ice Ribbon days. It seemed like something that she's always had. Utami, was one. Saika Matani is another one. Mirai is fantastic in the ring, but she seems she can connect with the crowd on a scale of 1 to 10. It was like a 6 or a 7, which is still really good. You add in her wrestling, you could probably bump it up to an 8. Where Saori Anou is a 10 and a 10, right? But it seems like Mirai is just getting it. But I think now Saori Anou is somebody that now that connects with the audience, and and you can argue who's the better in-ring worker. Was it Mirai or Saori Anou? Again, it's subjective, but Saori Anou is just somebody that just connects with the audience from the moment she walks through that curtain. She just has that stare about her and that aura and that presence where it's just like, and again, you're just like, wow, this is a star. Even if you've never seen Saori Anou wrestle before, this is a star. And that's one person that Andy Header was immediately drawn to. He's like, wow, this person is a star. I can tell by their entrance. And if they're just okay in the ring, they're just okay in the ring. And that's why I said the comparison, or what I said 2 minutes ago, is like, as great as she is in the entrance, she's better in the ring. And as somebody that is, again, Andy's a new watcher or a newer watcher to Stardom, that is completely blown away by her. And that's something that I think that you're going to be seeing. So hopefully Saori Anou is someone that comes over to the States, because I think you put her, in an ECW arena, in a Hammerstein ballroom, or on an AEW TV, I think that's somebody that is going to catch the American eyes, the audience eyes. And I just think she's somebody that connects with the audience more than Mirai did. And that's why I think that this Wonder of Stardom Championship run is off to a better start. And again, it's not the in-ring stuff that Mirai's fantastic, but Mirai just wasn't connecting to the audience. One Saori Anou is and will be doing.
So overall, Matt, obviously we talked a little bit about the disappointing attendance. We talked a little bit about the crowd being deathly silent during some of the matches. But overall, in ring, this isn't a bad show by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think we're looking at a show of the year, I'm sure you'll agree. But I still think from bell to bell, it was a solid card with some really, really good matches sprinkled in. Mutual Love, versus Crazy Star. Fantastic. Really enjoyed Saya Kamitani versus Saori Anou tag match. Without a shadow of a doubt, one of the tag matches of the year. And Saori Anou versus Ami Sourei. All matches that were really, really, really good. So overall for me, it's a thumbs up, Matt.
Oh, huge thumbs up. This show was absolutely fantastic. Again, you have two great tag matches with the Mutual Love versus Crazy Star and then Best Friends versus Eye Contact. Those two were absolutely fantastic. Saida and Kamatani, that was terrific. And then Tam and Willow, like I said, even though me and you have different results, whatever, that was really good. That was really good, and the main event was terrific. So again, yeah, you had 5 really good matches sprinkled in with some other stuff that was pretty solid as well. So yeah, overall, again, the crowd being quiet and the fact that they didn't break 1,000 people, they just didn't have what people wanted to see. And whether that was a red belt match, whether it was that the fact that this card came together within a week apart, again, you can't take away from what the girls did in this match. And the production was fantastic. The camera stuff was really was terrific as always. The stage looked really good in each and every one of these wrestlers, whether it was Saori Anou in the main event or it was Ranna and Hina, in the pre-show. Every one of these wrestlers gave 110%, and that really showed through. And again, I know that the attendance number is not what they wanted. I know the crowd wasn't as lively as they wanted. But you can't deny this wasn't a absolutely fantastic show. Again, show of the year, no, but still was it something that I believe this show is now on Stardom World. Is this a show that you should definitely go out of your way to see? Yes, especially those 5 matches that we talked about. Again, I had 5 matches at 4 stars or higher. And again, you had one of the best tag matches of the year that is going to lead into another fantastic IWGP championship match for one Mayu Iwatani. But yeah, I absolutely love this show, partner.
Yeah, agreed. Now, before we move on to a couple of shows that are going to be running this weekend, as Stardom have announced the shows for the 25th, the 26th, and the 28th. My God, I can't count. We're going to be looking at those cards in a moment. But before we do that, Matt, before we go into more Stardom, it's time. It's time. It's Io and Kairi watch time.
Damn right it is. My man, there was a lot of really cool stuff that they did with Io. Now, they did a great job building up the semifinals of the Queen of the Ring tournament, where it was Lila Valkyria taking on one Io Shirai in the semifinals. And I kind of figured that Lyra Valkyria was going to get the win here because Io's just coming off that championship run. She doesn't need to win Queen of the Ring, even though if she did, I wouldn't say no. And considering the fact that she's technically been Queen of the Ring for the last 5 or 6 years, regardless. So I figured that was they were going. However, Rob, it was like segment number 2. They had this phenomenal vignette with Io where she was like underwater and she's in subtitles saying, "I was the champion in SmackDown and now I'm coming to Raw to become your queen." I thought, and she was ready for her crown. I was like, they put it's WWE, right? They're the top of the top. Their production stuff is fantastic. And they're like, wow, they put all that production in this. Maybe Io's not going to lose. Again, she doesn't need it. I wouldn't say no. Io's my favorite wrestler on that roster. So I was like, this is going to be something. So they go and have the match. And I've seen a handful of Lila Valkyria's stuff, and she's very good. And before the match starts, she's from Ireland as well as Becky Lynch. So they have that history. And I believe Lyra defeated Becky about a year ago to win the NXT championship. So she gets the rub from a major superstar like Becky Lynch. Well, before Valkyria comes out, they're in the gorilla position. There's my Gorilla Monsoon reference for the show. Didn't mean to. They're in the Gorilla Monsoon. They're in the gorilla position, and Becky comes over to her and is like, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" So it was really cool that she kind of got the rub again from a major star that like Becky Lynch. So I didn't know how this was going to go by the way this was built up on Raw. So they go and have this match, and it's fantastic. Lyra starts out with some quick near falls. Io builds her heat, focusing on Valkyria's back. Valkyria, they must have been watching their Stardom matches because Lyra Valkyria hits the C4 bomb onto one Io. So I thought, how about that? Little kin to one Azumi. Valkyria hits a trio of kicks and a high cross body for a 2 count. There was a pair of fisherman busters that Lyra hit that looked like Jushin Liger in like 96. I mean, these things were head droppers. And it's very few head drop style moves we see in WWE. There was some really, really high angle ones. Obviously, she was safe, and it's Io taking them. But I thought that was really cool, and it really added to the danger in the match. Io hits a Meteora for a 2 count. Io hits a palm strike, sending Valkyria to the outside. She hits the Ase moonsault to the outside, throws her back in, hits the springboard dropkick and another Meteora for a 2 count. Io comes back again with a German suplex and then another Meteora, and then she goes for the moonsault, but Lyra Valkyria stops the moonsault. The two of them battle on the top rope back and forth. Lyra Valkyria, her finisher, Rob, is I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's called the Nightwing. It's basically like the Mira Mirai Shock. It's like what Kagetsu used to do. It's a sit-out DVD. So they tease that back and forth. Io teases the moonsault back and forth as this match is building. So it's really cool that you see these two wrestlers who have won every match in this tournament with their finishers. So they know, and it was built up on commentary really well with McAfee and Michael Cole, that they're looking to end this match. So they did a good job as this match is building. Io going for the moonsault, Valkyria, taking her leg out, understanding the importance of if she hits this, it's over. And same thing with Valkyria going for the Nightwing against the sit-out DVD. Eventually, Io is finally able to go for the moonsault. She goes to hit it. However, no water in the pool. She misses, crashes, and burns. Valkyria looks like she's going to put her away with the Nightwing, but then Io is able to slip out and looks like she's going for a sunset flip pin. However, Valkyria counters to the counter, is able to sit down and stack one Io. Very much, it was the same finish that the British Bulldog and Bret Hart did back at SummerSlam 92, and Valkyria getting the win and selling the shock of able to defeat and upset the former WWE Women's Champion. Afterwards, Io was very, very upset and heated and cuts a little bit of promo on Valkyria in Japanese and then storms off. I thought this match was absolutely terrific. I like the Baszler and Natty matches a little bit more that Io had in the weeks prior, but this was really, really good. And then somebody told me this match got like 19 minutes, which I didn't time it, but there was a few people that told me it was like 19:11, which if I'm wrong, let me know. But it was more than one person that told me, and that's the exact time. I think it was like 19:11. The fact that this got like almost 20 minutes on a Monday Night Raw is just insane, and a big cue to Triple H for giving the women time to tell their story. Really, really good stuff. That ends the night for one Io, Rob, but does not end for one Kairi, as there is a 4-way number one contenders tag team dance with Dakota Kai teaming with Kairi to take on the team of Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile, to take on the team of one of my favorite tag teams in all of WWE, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, and the team of another one of my favorite teams in all of WWE, Carter and Chance. The match starts out really, really fast-paced with all 8 of these wrestlers. Carter and Chance, they do the cake stand dive, which is their finisher, but they do it to the floor, which I thought was really cool. There was a couple Tower Doom spots back and forth, which was awesome. There was one spot where Zoe Stark is on the top rope. Chance has Zoe Stark on her shoulders on the top rope, and Carter comes off the top rope and gives her Karana that's off Chance's shoulders. And when she takes the bump onto a prone Shayna Baszler. I thought that was a really cool spot. Maxine Dupree, God bless her, she tries hard. I know the people don't like her. She messes stuff up all the time, and they did a good job putting her in place. But Rob, this really cool spot where she has a laid down ankle lock, almost an Achilles lock onto Dakota Kai. Kairi makes the save with the insane elbow. I thought that was really cool. Eventually, though, Shayna Baszler hits a brutal knee strike onto Maxine Dupree to get the win, and making Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark the number one contenders for the Women's Tag Team Championships. All in all, a good night for our former Queens of Stardom, Mr. Rob Goodwin.
Absolutely. Let's talk then a little bit about the cards that have been announced by Stardom. Obviously, the shows from the 25th, the 26th, and the 28th. On the 25th, Stardom is in Kofu, and the card is as follows: Sayaka Kurora versus Lady C in singles action. Six-woman tag, Xena, Tsukiyama, and Hanako versus Hanan, Koguma, and Saya Ida. Suzu Suzuki and Mei Seira versus Saori and Saki Kashima versus Natsupoi and Yuna Mizumori. Saori Anou, Tam Nakano, and Aya Sakura versus Konami, Ami Sourei, and Ranna Yagami. Saya Kamatani, Azumi, and Miyu Amasaki versus Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, and Tekla. And then in your main event, Maika, Mina Shirakawa, and Starlight Kid versus Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Momo Kogo. A couple of things for me there. That main event looks very, very good. Starlight Kid now aligning with EXV, as well as she continues her nomadacy around the different factions. I'm a big fan of Saikam Tani, Azumi, Miyu Amasaki versus Oedetai. But please, can we give Saki Kashima some time off? She needs it so badly. Just let her heal, Matt.
Yeah, we talk about it quite a bit. And again, it's just, I get it. Like it's smoking mirrors with this match because there's 5 other wrestlers in it. But it's like, does she need to be there? And I don't know what the reasoning behind it is. I don't know if it's like one of those old school things where it's like, well, if you don't wrestle, you don't get paid. I think those ways are kind of out of the way. If it's something where she just wants to be there, I mean, maybe because she didn't really do much. Stardom only ran the one show last week, and she really didn't do much in the match that she was in. So maybe it's like, okay, I had 10, 11 days to rest. Maybe she's a little bit better. I mean, this is an injury that is going to slowly heal on its own. It looks like it's a heel injury, which I've had them before, and this is just something you just need to ice it and rest it as best as you can without putting too much pressure on it. Again, we mention this almost every week. Does she need time off? Yes. Should she take a time off? 100%. At the same time, are they smoking mirrors every one of her matches where she doesn't look bad and she's getting in her comedy gimmick? Yeah, true. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe she's just like, look, I'll do these shows. Here's what I'm limited to, and I want to have fun out there. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the shot of adrenaline of her being in front of a crowd and wrestling, on matches with Sherry. I don't know. I just hope she's in better shape for this match. But regardless, obviously she's into this match. But look at the participants in this match, partner. You have Crazy Star, arguably one of, if not the best tag team in all wrestling. You have Sherry and Natsupoi and Yuna Mizumori. I mean, that can be a low-key steal of the show even with an injured Saki Kashima in the match.
Let's have a look at the 26th, then the following day, where they are going to be in Kyoto. This will be streaming live. It's the only one of these 3 days that will be. All of the others will be on video on demand. But this card is as follows. An interesting singles match. Konami versus Hanako, which could be very good. Aya Sakura versus Tekla. 6-woman tag. Suzu Suzuki, Azumi, and Lady C versus Saori Anou and Ranna Yagami. Tag team action 3-way Mina Shirakawa and Starlight Kid versus Hanan and Momo Kogo versus Tam Nakano and Sayaka Kurora. 3-way Saya Ida versus Mei Seira versus Saki Kashima. Maika, Xena, and Waka Tsukiyama versus Saori Anou, Natsupoi, and Yuna Mizumori versus Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Koguma. And then in your main event, tag team action, Saya Kamatani and Miyu Amasaki versus Natsuko Tora and Momo Watanabe. Matt, more live streaming on Stardom World. Are you excited for this card?
You know it, my man. It looks like Sunday. And considering the fact that's Memorial Day for us here in the States, I got a lot of wrestling to get caught up on Sunday and Monday morning, my man. And that's a good thing. Brother, I'm kind of looking at these cards. And again, we're kind of looking at what Maika might be set up with because we want to draw more tickets and we want Maika's our red belt champion. I'm looking at these 2 cards. If these are any indicator where they're going, are we pulling the trigger on a Maika versus Mayu match? I mean, obviously no one would say no to that, but yeah, more live streaming, and that main event's gonna look really good as well with Sai Kamatani teaming with Miyu Amasaki to taking on Team XL of Tor and Momo Watanabe. Boy, we love us some Miyu Amasaki, but looks like she's gonna be eating a pair of L's here this weekend.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah, she is. If the pay-per-view is anything to go by, she's going to get her ass handed to her, and then she's going to take the pinfall. But in fairness, she is very good at that, so there we are. Pardon me, you mentioned Mayu Iwatani. Don't forget Hazuki is also in those matches as well. So we could potentially be seeing a Hazuki versus Maika red belt match. Again, if that is anything to go by. As I mentioned before, our next pay-per-view is the Conversion, which I think is the 22nd of June. So we are looking at new challenges for Maika. On Tuesday, the 28th of May, we are in Osaka. But again, this is video on demand and not live. That card is as follows. Saori and Konami versus Sayaka Kurora and Aya Sakura. Lots and lots of violence there. Koguma versus Waka Tsukiyama versus Ranna Yagami. Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Momokogo versus Ami Sourei, Taki Kashima, and Starlight Kid. Saori Anou, Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, and Yuna Mizumori versus Sayaka Amatani, Azumi, Lady C, and Miyu Amasaki. That's going to be very good. Crazy Star versus Wingori. Oh, yes. All the time, yes. And then in your main event, or what looks to be your main event currently, Maika Minashiro Kawazina and Hanako versus Natsukatora Tekla, Momo Watanabe, and Fukigen Death in what looks like an Artist of Stardom Championship preview. I think I shot my shot there by telling you what I'm most excited about. But Crazy Star versus Wingori, absolutely. And then that Cosmic Angels versus Queen's Quest match looks good as well.
Rob, this might be the 4th or 5th week in a row we record next week when we say another tag team of the match of the year candidate, because Wingori and Crazy Star. I mean, yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. That's going to be great. My question to you, yes, and you're right, the Queen's Quest versus Cosmic Angels match, that should be fantastic. The question for you, buddy, does I don't know, obviously we have friends of ours that work for Stardom. Did they mention anything with Sayaka Kurora and Aya Sakurai, the fact that they have heat with the office? They're putting them in the lunch with Saori and Konami? Like, did they piss somebody off?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Right. No, you turn up to training late, we put you in the ring with Saori.
And Konami.
And Konami, yeah.
Who's competing in Bloodsport in a month?
There's absolutely no respite, is there, for these two, bless them. But no, very exciting cards, some really intriguing matchups. And yeah, if the opening two cards from Saturday and Sunday are anything to go by, Maika, red belt potentially with Mayu or Hazuki. Or let's not be disrespectful, Momokogo, but that's more unlikely.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'd love me some Momokogo. Hell yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back on Monday, the 27th, where we'll be giving you the Marigold Standard episode 2, where we'll be going into the grand opening wars from Shinkiba First Ring, before we're back on Wednesday to review whatever shows are up on Stardom World, at least the Sunday show, because that is live. Hopefully the Saturday show as well. But in the meantime, thank you so much to everyone for all of your amazing support. To everyone that listens to the podcast, to everyone over on patreon.com/the StardomCast, everyone that even acknowledges our existence, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. You can subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are quite literally everywhere. If you want to subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/the StardomCast, where you can join for as little as $1 a month, and you get all these episodes early and ad-free. If you want to leave us a review on the podcast app of your choice, that would really help us out as well. I hope, a 5-star review would always be nice, but be honest. You can always find us on social media at the StardomCast, and you can talk to me on Twitter if you so wish it at Real Rob Goodwin. Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Absolutely, folks. Questions, comments, any suggestions for alternate commentary or any retrospective reviews that you want us to do, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter is the best way to get a hold of me. You want to shoot me an email, that's perfectly fine as well. The StardomCast22@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me via email. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another episode. We greatly appreciate your support. I hope you're enjoying all the extra content that's coming your way, because guess what, folks? It's not going to stop, because we have not one but 2 fantastic companies to cover, and myself and handsome Rob Goodwin. Yes, the authors of the book Living and Chasing the Dream, we'll be giving you all the fantastic reviews and retrospectives. Because like I always say, folks, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast because we're all together and everybody's different. Everybody's special.